I don't know.
So all you need to do, if you're going to be here till the end, stop it. You'll just go into that browser, which is Chrome's. So Chrome, this is Chrome up here. I created another section. So you go up to like one program, and then it'll be a big bar on the bottom. Everything else they need is in this. So I'm just gonna make sure that is working on.
There's one question missing from the 6, so he's going to get the other.
Okay.
I'll bring it to you.
Right. And so when there are additional questions, those questions are going to come on the 3x5 cards,
Yeah.
right?
And,
Okay.
And one of the students will bring them to you.
Okay.
You can just announce that the students will be around handing out questions for the audience.
Okay. Very good.
And then we'll pre-screen them.
Okay.
So the students are going to bring them to you. Either I will bring them to you, because we're going to pre-screen them because we're not studying.
Right.
So we'll pre-screen them and I'll bring them to you.
Perfect. Thank you.
Here's the pen. I don't know if you need it.
We're good?
You're not going to want to sit this close together.
This might be a situation where
This
I don't.
is really they're large.
Sir,
My name is Marcus Nelson.
nice to see you, Marcus.
I want to be helping you with time tonight.
Yes, thank you.
Do you know where's best that I should be seated so that everyone can see me?
Yeah, so when the questions get to home, you start pushing, and then I start wrapping them up. No problem.
So our
Should I get them up here?
well, it's
624.
right. We got 4 of them here, so we're still looking for God Ima
Full.
and Fuller, right? This person is here. Oh, Mike and Cheryl.
I wouldn't know. I wouldn't say it. I wouldn't know if you walked in the room.
Oh, really?
No, everybody has to know.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
You tell me you want to get them up there, I will.
It's really the interesting thing is they would just be sitting here for the most part for the first half hour.
Oh.
Right, because remember they're going to do the whole introduction. We got it. We're 6:30 prompt time. We're going to start. I'm just going to make an announcement. Ladies and gentlemen, we will be starting very shortly. Please take your seats. In here. So who's handling that?
I got you. Don't you worry about it.
It's probably right in there somewhere.
Yeah, like see the young lady from Princeton.
Okay.
Christina.
Yep. Tell me about it. I have my wife Could you hear me when I just spoke?
So, do it again.
All right. Not yet.
I love technology.
Right.
I'm sorry.
Testing.
That's good. Thank you.
So if you need to turn it up, here it is.
Yeah, there it goes. Ladies and gentlemen, please start taking your seats. We are going to be starting on time. 6. Please start taking your seats. Thank you very much. It's a kind of, you guys are not on for another half hour. Where would you like them to sit while we wait? Do you want them to sit here? All of the candidates, please go over to my right. We're going to exit outside that door. All the candidates, please. We're going to get started in 2 minutes. 2 minutes.
Where's Stanley?
You got you got the talent.
I got this. Stanley, if you're in the room, please come on up. Thank you. Stoudemire.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Oh, Stoudemire Jr.
I don't mind.
My dad's here for me, Barney.
We don't want that. All right, welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome. Thank you for being out here tonight for our candidates forum. We're going to start this evening off the way we should, here with the NAACP, Princeton University, all of the students. Let's give them a round of applause for putting on this tonight. And we are going to start out with Lift Every Voice and Sing, sung by Stanley Stoudemire Jr.
Thank you. Can everyone please stand? Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark times have taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us, facing the rising sun of our new day begun. Let us march on till victory is won. Stony the road we trod, bitter the chastening rod, felt in the days when hope unborn had died, yet with the steady beat have not our weary feet brought us to where our Father's side. We have come over a way that with tears have watered. We have come treading the path of blood and slaughter. Out of our gloomy past, here now we stand at last, with the white gleam of our bright star cast. God of our wearies, God of our silent tears, thou who hast brought us thus far on the path, thou who hast by thy light led us into the right. Keep us forever in the path, we pray. Lest our feet stray from the places, our God, where we met thee. Lest our hearts, learning the hunger of the world, we forget thee. Shadow beneath thy hand, may we forever stand true to our God, true to our native land. Thank you.
Oh, maybe you turn the microphone up.
Nope.
If we can. So,
There we go. That should hopefully do it.
Thank you very much. Just making sure you can hear me in the back. Can you hear me? Okay, very good. We'd like to have our welcome now NAACP Princeton University College Chapter President Christina Middlebrook.
Good evening. Welcome to the 2025 New Jersey Gubernatorial Candidate Forum. I am Christina Middlebrooks, a 19-year-old sophomore here at Princeton University, currently pursuing studies in the School of Public and International Affairs with a pre-medical focus. My aspiration is to become a physician dedicated to shaping global health policy. I proudly hold the position as president of the recently revitalized NAACP Princeton University College Chapter and serve as secretary for the NAACP New Jersey State Conference Youth and College Division. My involvement with this esteemed organization spans 5 years, beginning in as a high school student in a local youth council. Governors play a pivotal role in shaping the policies and operations of a state. As the leader of the executive branch, the governor of New Jersey has a range of responsibilities that affect every resident. They oversee state agencies, ensure the implementation of laws, appoint judges and key officials, sign bills into law, and can convene special legislative sessions to address urgent matters. Essentially, the governor influences both the daily functioning and long-term trajectory of the state. With New Jersey and Virginia being among the few states holding gubernatorial elections, it's essential for New Jersey residents to stay informed about the candidates and their platforms. By understanding their policies, leadership styles, and visions for New Jersey, voters can make informed decisions that will impact their state's future for years to come. Are you exploring this topic in preparation for the upcoming election? Established in 1909, the NAACP has a legacy of championing civil rights, and its Youth and College Division, founded in 1936, has proudly upheld that mission for 89 years. The Princeton University College Chapter continues this vital tradition, empowering young leaders to engage communities through forums aimed at voter education. To participate in this fundamental democratic process, it is essential to be registered to vote. If you require any assistance with verifying your registration status, the dedicated members of the NAACP are here to support you. They can also provide information about joining this bold and impactful civil rights organization. Welcome, and we hope you enjoy being a part of this inspiring initiative. Thank you. I will now send it over to our first Vice President of the New Jersey State Conference Youth and College Division, Nason Carr, to give greetings.
Good evening. On behalf of the NAACP New Jersey State Conference Youth and College Division, it's my honor to welcome you all to this critical forum featuring the candidates seeking to lead our great state as next governor. My name is Nason S.J. Carr. I proudly serve as the first Vice President of the NAACP New Jersey Conference Youth and College, and I aspire to be the President of the United States. The NAACP New Jersey State Conference Youth and College Division represents youth councils and college chapters throughout our state with over 500 members. A major component of the NAACP NJSCYC is civic engagement, voter education, and youth empowerment. Tonight we gather at a pivotal moment, one that will define the direction of New Jersey for years to come. This forum is more than just a discussion. Is an opportunity for engagement, empowerment, and accountability. It is a space where we as residents and future leaders can ask tough questions, challenge perspectives, and ensure that the voices of young people are heard loud and clear in a political process. The Youth and College of New Jersey are not just the future, we are the present. May all the youth in college please stand if you were here with us today. We are students, workers, activists, and voters who care deeply about the issues affecting our communities. Education, economic opportunity, social justice, healthcare, climate change, and so much more. Our generation is demanding action, and we stand ready to work alongside leaders who are committed to making a tangible difference. To the candidates joining us today, we thank you for your willingness to serve and for engaging in this dialogue with the people of New Jersey. We look forward to hearing your visions for our state and understanding how your leadership will address the concerns of all communities, especially those who have been historically underserved. To all attendees, your presence speaks volumes. Civic engagement is a responsibility we all share, and tonight's discussion is a testament to the power of informed and active voters. Let us seize this moment to foster meaningful conversations, challenge one another with respect, and work towards a future where New Jersey thrives for all. If anyone wants to become a member and join 89 years of youth civic rights leadership, student programming, organized activism, please find our state advisor, Ms. Maisha Aziz, or myself. Thank you, and please enjoy the program.
Ladies and gentlemen, now let's welcome to the podium the president of the NAACP New Jersey State Chapter, Mr. Richard Smith.
Good evening. Good evening. NAACP family and friends, welcome, welcome. I'm so grateful that God has allowed us to gather here today under his care and his protection. I want to thank the candidates that are here tonight to participate in this discussion. Every candidate was invited to attend. We are nonpartisan, yet very political. In the words of the late, great Julian Bond, Julian said, "We have no permanent friends, no permanent enemies, just permanent interests." Your attendance tonight speaks volumes. And for those who are not here, your absence speaks volumes as well. I bring you greetings on behalf of the NAACP National Board of Directors and from the NAACP New Jersey State Conference, its officers and executive committee. I'm going to ask that the officers and executive committee of the New Jersey State Conference please stand and be recognized for the work that you do each and every day. There definitely is no I in team, so I appreciate each and every one of you. The NAACP, yes, is the largest and the oldest. Some say it's the baddest and the boldest, the most loved, the most hated, the most feared and revered, the most cussed and discussed, and the often imitated, but never duplicated civil rights organization in the nation. Since February 12, 1909, we have been standing on the front lines for justice, equality, and freedom born out of the fight against racial violence and injustice. Our mission remains unwavering, dismantling systemic oppression, protecting voting rights, ending discrimination, and ensuring economic and educational opportunities for all. From the historic legal battles of Thurgood Marshall to the Civil Rights Act and beyond, we stand on the shoulders of giants who paved the way, but the work isn't done. We continue to push for the advancement of protecting Black lives, Black voices, and the future of Black people. For 116 years, we've made history. Now, let's continue shaping the future. The fight is not over. When we fight, we win. I'm confident that we will win, especially when I see young people like the leadership we have on this campus. I believe these young people are our future. We just need to teach them well, and yes, let them lead the way. Now, not later, now. And I know we are in good hands. I commend you, President Christina Middlebrook. I commend your officers and members of the NAACP Princeton University chapter for a job well done tonight. Give them what they deserve. A round of applause. You are special. These young people are special. Black people, we are special. I had the opportunity the other day to hear Reverend Otis Moss from the Trinity Baptist Church in Chicago, and he shared some profound words that bear repetition. He said, there is undoubtedly something extraordinary about us. We must be pretty special if an entire movement of MAGA people had to create a project 2025 to erase our contribution, remove our genius, marginalize our brilliance, disenfranchise our power, restrict our participation, and miseducate the nation's children. Maybe, just maybe, we don't know how powerful we truly are, Black people. Billionaires funded, lawyers plotted, think tanks studied, politicians gathered, insurrectionists on January 6th planned, entire news broadcast, and a so-called criminal president who some of y'all voted for gave executive orders all centered on quieting the power of a people who will not be silent. This gubernatorial election is probably the most important election in New Jersey that I have ever participated in, going back to the days when I was just a mere slip of a lad, running around in the Shiloh Baptist Church under Reverend Dr. S. Howard Woodson. I never felt back then like I feel today, and it's all due to the environment we are living in. Every emotion is encapsulated within the context of this election: anxiousness, hopelessness, fear, joy, anger, division, unity, resentment, deceit. Every emotion that you can think of is in this election. We have a moral imperative to vote. Our freedom is at stake. We underperformed in 2024, but thanks be to God, we get another chance to do what we failed to do last year. The last two gubernatorial elections, Black folks gave the winner 94% of the Black vote. But the question is, what was our ROI? Well, that's good, President. That's a good question there, President Smith. What is ROI? Well, I'm glad you asked. It's return on investment. Did we get our votes worth? And so tonight, I'll let you answer that question without me putting in my 2 cents. ROI. So tonight, my brothers and sisters, educate yourselves, get energized about the work ahead, and then mobilize folks where you live and serve to vote. We must vote, and we must vote our values, and we must ensure that each of these individuals to my right value your vote. We encourage you to spend your money where you're respected, support Black-owned businesses, demand business prioritize people over profit. Above all, we must continue to advocate for policies that ensure people of color, women, veterans, those with disability, and all protected groups have equal access to opportunities across the country. Remember, we need to shop not where we're tolerated, but rather shop at places where we are celebrated. All right? So, well, the 2 individuals who have provided financial support for tonight's event are here. They have proven that they prioritize people over profit, and we are so very, very grateful for your support and the relationship that we've shared with you over the years. You stand with the NAACP, and as long as I'm the president, we'll stand with you. Let's give them a round of applause. At this time, we have 2 representatives. One is from the Regional Council of Carpenters, none other than my dear brother. Now, I thought you were going to try to come up here. My dear brother, John Young, from the Carpenters Union.
I got too much work to do, be jumping up on the stage and going to the hospital tonight, and I ain't got time for that. I just wanted to take a moment to say thank you, and that the Carpenters are so happy to support an organization who has supported labor for eons, right? Since Dr. King's days, that's what he did. He supported labor. He believed in labor. He believed that right to work was not the right thing to do. So we definitely support that. You know, I was asked to say a couple words, and I was trying to figure out, you know, what do I say? What can I come up here and talk about? One thing that I've always done in the years that I've been working with workforce development, being a business agent for the Carpenters, now I'm their political director. I always worked with the youth, and I always had a vision that the youth that we have today is second to none. We just got to give them the opportunity, the chance to blossom and grow. One thing that we've had, and I know I see a lot of people a little gray like me, a little grayer than me, and they'll understand where I'm coming from here. When we were growing up as kids, my father told me what he wanted me to be. My father he planned my path, and he wanted to do this, right? And today I say, you know, that's not exactly what we want to do. So my thought process for the last 20 years has been, how do I take the youth that's today, take their ideas, incorporate them to our ideas, and let's figure out a way, how do you create your own generation? How do you create your own narrative? And the way to do that is to bring you along with us, not to tell you what happens, but to listen. So when I thought of what should these candidates be talking to us tonight about, what should we be listening for? What are some of the keys, right? And Brother Smith said it the best. Every single election, I don't care where it is, what do they always say? Black vote's the most important vote. Black vote's the most important vote, right? It's time to earn it for everybody. I don't care who it is. We want to find out right now from these candidates, what are their plans to protect us from the federal government as Black people? Because right now, they're putting us back pre-64. So how do we protect that? Who's going to protect us from that? That's what we want to talk about. Who's going to listen to us? Who's going to tell us that what we say matters? It's not what you want to see your legislators like. It's what the people want. So when we leave here today and we start to think about who earns our vote, take it personal. Understand that it's about you. You're the one who goes into that box, you close the curtain, or you sit at your kitchen table, however we want to do it these days, and we're the ones who vote. And time again, they ask for a vote, and what's our ROI? So tonight, if you take nothing else from this tonight, be selfish. Be selfish tonight. Let them tell you what you want to hear, what makes you tick. And if we can do that, and if they can hold to their promise, New Jersey will be a better place. Now, there's no doubt in my mind, one of these gentlemen that's here, and the lady that is here, will be our next governor. I think they're all really good people. I really, really do. But good people sometimes just don't get it done. We need people that are bold. We need people to take initiatives. We need people to understand that when our dollars come into our communities, we want it to go 10, 13 times fold before it leaves. How do we do that? We ensure that New Jerseyans go to work every day. We ensure that people from out of state don't come in and take our jobs. We ensure that development and things that are right for us, are right for New Jersey, are right for New Jersey and are right for us to go to work. So be selfish tonight. Be humble tonight. Show us your worth, and let's get it on. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
At this time, we would like to introduce another one of our supporters who we appreciate dearly. He's our friend. He is the president, Williams Energy. Let's give it up for T. Lane Wilson.
Thank you, President Smith and my good friend Todd Edwards over there. I need to call my boss and tell him I got a promotion tonight. I'm actually the senior vice president, yes, of the Williams companies. We are the nation's largest natural gas pipeline company, and let me tell you why that's important here and why we've sponsored this really great event. Energy is the single most important issue that we're facing as a country right now. We are using more and more of it. There's nothing we can do about that unless we want to put our cell phones away, unless we want to stop watching television, and for sure, unless we want to stop using ChatGPT and other AI programs. We will continue to increase our energy use. The other inconvenient or convenient fact is that where energy is inexpensive, people are doing well. That's just the bottom line. All over the world, in the US, go to a community that has inexpensive energy and you're going to find a community that's doing well. Go to a neighborhood that has low utility bills, low energy costs, they are doing well. Go to a neighborhood where those costs are high, they are not doing well. Now, to be clear, we are in all of the above company. We are strong supporters of solar and wind. We have a number of solar projects in our portfolio, but reliability and cost are the most important thing to the American people right now and should be the most important thing to those of you from New Jersey. And we're now out-of-state company, but we employ a lot of people in New Jersey, and I can assure you we are not taking your jobs. We are adding to those jobs. So as we listen to the debate tonight, I hope we will not only hear about the issues that have already been addressed, which are by far the most critical to the state, but that we will also hear about energy and how these candidates intend to ensure that as you go home, as your neighbors go home, you're living in your communities, that your cost of energy is both inexpensive and reliable. And I think that is probably the most important thing we can talk about tonight. And in truth, was probably a huge driver of the results we saw last November. So Williams could not be more proud to be a part of this event. We're thrilled to be here. Thank you so much, and I look forward to the debate.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Joseph Olatunji, and I'm a 19-year-old sophomore here at Princeton University. I am studying in the Department of Molecular Biology. I'm sorry. My apologies. Is this better? Okay. My name is Joseph Olatunji, and I'm a 19-year-old sophomore here at Princeton University. I'm studying in the Department of Biology, and I plan to be a physician in the future. I'm standing before you all today as the first vice president of the Princeton NAACP University College chapter. I'd like to take a brief moment to express my gratitude to our supporters who've made this forum possible. Without you, none of this would have been feasible in terms of organization, communications, connections. All of this could not have been done without all of the support that we received, which is why on account of our chapter here at Princeton, I would like to thank the New Jersey State Conference Youth and College Council Division, the Carpenters Union, Williams Electric, New Jersey State Conference, the Carl A. Field Center, and Projects Board. Now, with that said, it's my great pleasure to introduce our moderator for tonight. This is an award-winning journalist who's worked on the radio for many, many years, more than I've even been alive. He covered major events such as the 1993 World Trade Center bombing, the crash of TWA Flight 800, and most notably, the tragedy of 9/11, to which he bore witness. He's someone who is not just skilled at what he does, he's compassionate, he's empathetic, he's sensitive, and he's able to report on catastrophes as an eyewitness who maintains his composure while also being respectful to those who are involved and impacted. He became the head of media relations for the late Congressman John Lewis, where he assisted him in his fight for civil rights. A faithful husband and loving father of three. Please join me in welcoming Anthony Johnson onto the stage.
Good evening, everybody. Are you ready for an exciting evening? Well, let's bring the candidates on up. We're going to start out with Mr. Baraka, Mr. Fulop, Mr. Gottheimer, Mikey Sherrill, Sean Spiller, Steve Sweeney, Steven Zelensky. Welcome, everybody. Good to see you. You ready for the evening? We're just so happy to have you. You got it. I'm going to hit you with a tough question right off the top. Are you ready?
Yeah, sure.
Yes. Okay. What we're going to do is start out with your opening statements. We're going to do it in alphabetical order. All right? Just like we brought you up to the stage. So, Mr. Baraka, you have your time, 90 seconds. 90 seconds, and I'm running a tight ship tonight. I got a young man over there that's keeping the numbers. So 90 seconds, sir.
If I stand up because this thing is blocking.
Very good. No problem.
So good evening. It's a pleasure to be, no, it's not on.
There you go.
All right. Good evening. It's a pleasure to be here. I want to thank the NAACP for hosting this. We're a long way from the Niagara movement, but not long enough for sure. Today, President Trump said that the Smithsonian was a corrosive ideology and he was going to defund the Smithsonian Institute of African American Museum of Culture and History. So that's where we are. Obviously, I buried my grandmother this month, who was the matriarch of our family. She was 99 years old, through Jim Crow. She lived through World War II. She lived through Vietnam. She lived through the Voting Rights Act and Public Accommodations Act. She never had an opportunity to see the fullness of democracy. She won't be alive to see her grandson become the governor of the state of New Jersey either. But the reality is the country has come far, but obviously not far enough. And it proves right now we need committed leaders. We need strong leadership. We need leadership that stands on democracy, that doesn't waver, that does not hide in the middle or run during difficult times, but is able to challenge people who are trying to steal the floor right from under working families. We have to fight for and invest in our families in this state. And one of the issues that stops us from doing that is equity, right? We have not been able to create equity in this state, to create an economy that's inclusive for all nationalities and all groups throughout this economy. We haven't built a broad-based coalition to stand for things that are important for all of us, to reduce healthcare costs, to make sure housing is affordable, to create home ownership for people all across the state, no matter where they are, the zip codes that they're from, to give them the opportunity for a decent education, to access an American dream that's becoming more and more elusive, not just because of the inexpensiveness or the expensiveness of this state, but because of racism and inequity and all the other issues that are coming out of the White House that are making it increasingly difficult for us to access the privilege that exists in the state of New Jersey. I'm running for governor because the Constitution of the United States allows me to, and the Constitution of this state allows me to, because I am the mayor of the largest city, and I believe I have the skill and the ability to run this state and make sure we have a state that is beneficial for all of us.
Thank you very much. Mr. Fuller.
I think that was more than 90 seconds. No, I'm just kidding. You got a grip. All right. I'll say sort of my back to anybody. First, I want to say thank you for having me. And when I started this campaign about a year and a half ago, I really was focused on the changes that that need to happen in New Jersey. We have a lot of dysfunction here with regards to affordability and transportation and housing, and a lot of issues that have been punted to the next administration. As a father of 3 small children, I thought a lot about what New Jersey would look like for them. And I never anticipated that we would have a 2-front fight, one in Trenton to reform it politically and governmentally, and the second one about the progress or lack of progress that we're seeing in the federal administration in Washington. And for that reason, I'm running for governor, and I think I'm best suited to prepare for what is next year. My hope is at the end of this that you'll say that we've been substantive, we've been thoughtful around policy, that you see how we're going to change from a transportation and housing standpoint, and you understand how our administration is different. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Gottheimer, 90 seconds.
I want to be seen, so I'm not standing back there. First of all, thank you so much for having me. It is an honor. I didn't get into Princeton, so this was a great way to get here. I just want to say that what the mayor pointed out, Mayor Baraka pointed out today, I can't believe, and listen, I grew up in Jersey. I worked for Presidents Clinton, President Obama. I can't believe in 2025, the President of the United States signed an executive order today to bring back Confederate statues around the country, right? That is, to me, like a sign of why it's so critical that we win in November, that we win next year, win the year after. We can't afford to have more of this, of dismantling of our country and who we are and of our values, right? And the best way I believe we have to do this is we have to remind all voters in New Jersey that the people up here, we care about making their lives more affordable. Hardworking middle-class folks that we want to help them deal with childcare costs, which are second highest in the country, the highest property taxes in the country, food prices that are through the roof. People are really struggling, the rents they're dealing with. So we have to do everything possible to get costs down. It's why I've put out a plan to cut taxes, to lower costs, and to make life more affordable for people so they can stay here, they can raise their family here, they can retire here, because it's an amazing state. But the bottom line is people can't afford to be here and share our great values, then what good are we if we can't fix this? So that is like my single number one focus, to make life more affordable for everybody and get prices down and costs down for them so we can live in this great state. And I'm going to help solve these problems like I've done in Washington, some of the most impossible ones, get things done that people said were literally impossible. We will get them done when I'm governor. Thank you.
Mrs. Cheryl?
Thank you so much. I think you've heard that we're all really disgusted with the executive orders that we are hearing coming from Washington, and Mayor Baraka mentioned the one saying that Trump was going to fight anti-American ideology and he was going to start with the African American History Museum in Washington, erasing our history, erasing heroes like Medgar Evers, who served like I did, but his country did not love him as much as he loved his country because he was shot down in his own front yard. Making sure that they are now issuing orders to attack people on Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, attack SNAP, attack the Department of Education again and again. attacking the most vulnerable people in this country so they can deliver tax cuts to the most wealthy. So what I think we're here tonight to do is to talk about a different vision, to talk about a different way forward in the state of New Jersey than everything we see coming from Washington, D.C. That's what makes this race in 2025 so incredibly important as we chart a different course here than the one we see coming from Washington. So thank you all for taking the time tonight so we can talk a little bit about that and having the courage and having the commitment to this country to do so. Thank you.
Mr. Spiller.
Well, thank you so much, and thank you all for being here. And I just have to say this, right? When we look at what the president's doing, we look at what this administration's doing, I have to say, I'm not surprised by any of it. And I don't think there's a lot of folks in here that surprised either, because he has systematically been going after not only our history, but our future in every single decision that he makes. And I'm running for governor because we need a change. We need to do things differently. We've got to show that as a party, this is who we stand for, not just what we stand for, but we've got to be bold in our action. Because when you knock those doors, you hear the same thing that I'm sure so many of you feel or hear all the time as well. What's the difference between you and you and you and you, or this party and that party? We've got to show that difference. We've got to be clear about it. We've got to say, as he's working with his puppet master, Elon Musk, to steal every dime out of our pocket and our programs, we've got to invest in those very same things, going after those billionaires, those ultra-rich corporations, and putting the dollars back in the programs that we need. Every single action that he takes is to erase our past so we can't see ourselves in the successful future of this country. And we've got to show them that we can be different. We can be different right here in New Jersey, focusing on people, centering our needs in the decisions that are made. And I'll just say this, we often do what we always do. We elect those who are very wealthy to come in and be governor, or the party picked person, or the ones taking money from Wall Street or big developers or anything else. And then we're surprised that we get differences on the margins, but we don't get the bold change that we need. This is our chance to do things differently, to say, let's lean into a space where we can elect somebody who's going to share our interests, because I've lived those interests. So I'm asking for your support. I'm asking for your vote to make a change in this state. Thank you.
Mr. Sweeney. First, I want to thank you, NAACP, for allowing us to do this. And I'm running for governor of the state of New Jersey. I never thought I'd have to battle Washington at the same time. What's going on in this country is insane. Eliminating our history. DEI, right? That's the big problem in this country, is DEI. You know who DEI is? My daughter Lauren, who works in the daycare center that has Down syndrome. This ain't okay. And we need to fight. As I think Mayor Phillips said, we have things we have to fix here, desperately have to fix here. New Jersey is too expensive, and we need to stop taxing. Not what they're trying to do right now. They want to tax $1.2 billion this year. It's got to stop. We got to make New Jersey affordable, but we have to be vigilant. We have to stand up, and we can't take the shit that Donald Trump is doing anymore. Thank you. Mr. Zelensky.
Good evening. Thank you very much for Princeton University and the NAACP for actually inviting me. My name is Steve Zelensky, and I am running as a Green Party candidate for governor. Since you probably don't know anything about me, and my whole reason for running for governor is my wife, Kathy. Kathy was a special needs teacher, obviously you are familiar with this, for 18 years. She taught children from age 6 to age 20, over 100 students per year. Kathy's no longer with us. She left us 7 years ago from cancer. And I'm going to ask you guys to be interactive. How many of you, if you don't mind raising your hands, how many of you know somebody or yourself is dealing with cancer or autoimmune disease or diabetes or whatever? If you got, raise them both up. Keep them up. Look around the room. This is not acceptable in this day and age. We are called the Garden State, and we spray more pesticides and herbicides on stuff. We cannot fix a healthcare system if we are poisoning ourselves from the beginning. So one of my main things is if we're going to fix the healthcare from both ends of the candle, I want to make sure that New Jersey is the first fully organic state in the country.
Time.
And
Thank you very much, everybody. Now we're going to start out with our first question of the evening. And just to let you know that students will be in the audience. They'll hand out 3x5 cards. Please write so I might be able to read them. Then we're going to go through them, check those, make sure we don't have a lot of duplication. But the students will be handing those cards out. So you, the audience, will have an opportunity to ask some questions. But we're going to start out, as I said a little bit earlier, with our first question, a simple question. We're going to start ladies first. Is that all right, gentlemen? All right. Are you a member of the NAACP? All right. How about we go to Mr. Spiller, and then we'll come to Mr. Gottheimer.
Yes, I'm a life member, so thank you.
Mr. Gottheimer?
I joined tonight.
Mr. Sweeney?
I'm a life member.
Mr. Fuller?
I believe I'm a life member as well, but I got to check. But I believe so.
I got a silver card.
Mr. Zelensky?
Yes, I am.
It's a silver card. And Mr. Baraka?
Yes, I'm a life member.
Thank you very much.
And you can check.
All right, what I'm going to do now, I'm going to have to mix it up, all right? Don't get offended if you don't get called. There's a bunch of you up here on the podium, so we're going to try to make this as equal and as fair as possible. But let us start out, I would say, with Mr. Spiller. What qualifies you to be the next governor of New Jersey?
Well, let me say this. First and foremost, for those of you who don't know, I'm a high school science teacher, right? And work with our students for so many years. And I will just say, and I'll talk about the other things I've done in my life, but I will start with that because each and every day we meet our students where they're at. We understand that if we can't connect and understand them, we can't help them. We understand that if we can't differentiate our instruction and help folks in different ways, we can't be successful. These are the skills that we need in public service and elected life. And that's why I'm so proud when I see educators run for any position, and certainly one of the big skills that I know brings me to this position. But I've also served as a mayor and a council person for 12 years in Montclair, leading a city that I think anyone who's visited knows is vibrant and thriving, and that's important. I've also, right now, served as the president of the New Jersey Education Association, representing almost 200,000 educators. But what that means is you have to build relationships up and down this state. You have to understand that not only do I have the experience of how to get something done as a mayor, where I think the other mayors would agree you kind of have a lot more say and pull to get that to happen, I also understand what it means to get a Senate president or a speaker and then a governor to get something signed to become a bill. Understand the relationships that have to exist up and down this state and the differences while we share values that are in places like Warren County to Cape May, right? All of that is going to matter when we're trying to move forward key legislation to protect us against Donald Trump, yes, but to make New Jersey more affordable. Connecting all those pieces is why I say I'm the strongest candidate to be governor, because I've got both of those experiences in my work that I've done, and I know that they're both going to be important in terms of leading the state moving forward.
Thank you very much, Mr. Fulop.
Test. Thank you. Let me start by saying that life is a lot of different chapters and growing experiences. I served in Iraq in the Marine Corps. I was part of the military service out there after 9/11. When I raised my hand after 9/11, when I was serving in financial services, working at Goldman Sachs, and decided to leave that to enlist in the Marine Corps. I come from a family of immigrants, Holocaust survivors, and I've experienced that growing up. My wife has a small business, and my parents had small businesses growing up. But the biggest differentiator, I would say, is that I've had the privilege of being the mayor of Jersey City for 12 years, the single most diverse city in the country and a very complicated city. If you think about the challenges in Trenton, you'd be hard-pressed to say that understanding the correlation between being a mayor in municipal government and state government and a lack of the connectivity there isn't at the core of the problems around affordability, transportation, housing, and every other issue that we have. You have 560 plus municipalities in the state of New Jersey, and you have governor after governor that comes with no experience on the municipal level. So you've had somebody from being the ambassador of Germany, somebody being a U.S. attorney, somebody being a United States senator, but understanding how the delivery of services between Trenton impacts your taxes and the delivery of services is a skill set that is important for this job. I think my qualifications and my achievements in Jersey City speak for itself. I'm hopeful that over the next hour and a half, they'll have a conversation to dig into each of those specifically, because I think that is the most important differentiator.
Time. Mrs. Sherrill.
So I think New Jersey needs a different kind of leader. I think we really need somebody who's going to delve into the problems of this state in a new way, take a new look at it, and not accept the age-old problems we have. We have an affordable housing plan right now that was developed about 50 years ago to address the affordable housing crisis and to address historic redlining. And today we have an affordable housing crisis in some of the most segregated schools in the nation. I think we have to not accept this status quo. I also think we need someone who's a strong fighter, who knows how to fight against what's coming from Washington. That's something I served in the first Trump administration. And I also think to get there, to make sure we have somebody who's capable and competent, we need somebody who can win. And, I think we need somebody who's run against a Republican before, who knows what it takes to build broad coalitions, to swing a district from red to blue in the biggest swing in the entire nation, as I did, who can get out the base, can get out labor union leaders, can get out the swing vote, can make sure those people that have kind of been disenchanted and disaffected with how we're working are brought back into the fold. That's going to be critically important. As we've seen our state swing to the right, we're going to swing it big time back to the left, have the first shot across the bow against this administration and what we think of it, and really lead the nation in a new direction. Thanks.
Mr. Zelensky.
Thank you. I'm a outside the box type of person. I know one of the topics that we're going to be talking about tonight is electricity. Everybody's price is about to go up 20% as of June 1st. My background is in renewable energy and solar. I believe that we should be independent of our electric. Installing solar across the state. I'm looking to actually bring manufacturing of solar panels, carports, and wind technology across the state, and probably bring in about 50,000 new jobs for doing that. And from that, we will be able to increase our revenue and reduce our costs on that as well. The other thing is climate change. We're all dealing with that. We're losing our shore to erosion and stuff. I'm looking at different ways to actually increase revenue for the seafood industry, as well as decrease our erosion along the shoreline. And again, healthcare. One thing I didn't get to finish is I want to bring in a single payer Medicare for all into the state of New Jersey, which will actually reduce our costs across the board for everybody. Thank you.
Mr. Baraka.
I agree with that. But number one, I think that what was said earlier is right. We need an executive that's in charge of the state government right now more than anything. At the end of the day, if the state has the cold, Newark has the flu. There is nothing that we've been able to wrestle and mitigate in the city of Newark that we couldn't do in the state. A third of the state's affordable housing is built in Newark. The 20% affordability rule and inclusionary zoning is the state adopted from us. Our reduction in violence and homicides by 61%. Reduction in shootings by 47%, reduction in street homelessness by 57%, being able to give broadband to the residents of the city for $20, right? Changing 23,000 lead service lines in less than 3 years in the city of Newark, right? Having guaranteed income in the city, giving people $600 to $5,000 a year so they can pay their groceries, so they can pay their bills. This happened in the city of Newark. Our ability to make things happen is unparalleled. Make things happen in very difficult and trying times in our city. If we couldn't do it, if we could do it in Newark, we could do it anywhere else around the state of New Jersey. And I also believe that the state has not swung to the right. I think the Democrats have laid down. They have not done their job. They've not inspired people. If you can't inspire people outside of this room, then you're not going to win. It's not about who's running, it's what you're running on. If you can't inspire people in barbershops and beauty parlors and nail salons and bars and places where people are, then we're going to lose. You can't just get up there and pontificate. People have to see you and believe what you say. You have to have a record to stand on. You have to always have been a Democrat and not just become a Democrat during this race. That's important. Thank you.
Mr. Sweeney.
The mayor gets up, I got to get up. I absolutely am the most qualified candidate to run for governor because I've been there and done that. But not just that, I've actually done the hard things. I worked with the NAACP to create the first independent prosecutor law in the nation. Yeah, we should clap about that because it was important to make sure communities have trust. Bail reform. We did bail reform and we did it the right way, not like New York. It works here. Ban the box to end discrimination when people have gotten in trouble. Yeah, absolutely. You know how many people were denied an opportunity for employment because there was a box on an employment application where you had to check if you were ever incarcerated. And you can be guaranteed you checked that box, you didn't get that job. There are some of the things we did. Minimum wage, prime sponsor. Paid family leave, prime sponsor. Pay equity for women, prime sponsor. We've done a lot of really tough, big things. I fixed the pension system that was going bankrupt at my own expense politically. But when you're the leader, you don't get a chance to take a pass, you lead. So I feel very strongly that I am the most qualified person running for governor because I've been there, done that, know how it works. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. The reason that Mr. Baraka is standing up, just to let you know, so he can be seen on this side of the room, because the podium is here, just so we...
He likes to stay.
But we'll just let you know. There was a reason for that. So let me go on to the next question. Currently, oh, that's right. I'm so sorry, Mr. Gottheimer. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. Listen, I think what you heard here is important. Because what we need in our state right now more than ever is a leader. Someone who's willing to take on the tough stuff, who's willing to fight Trump and not afraid to fight Trump, who's willing to, when it makes sense, sit down and get stuff done. Like when I've been in Congress and I've been running this group called the Problem Solvers Caucus, people told us years, you'll never get an infrastructure bill done. We got it done. I helped write it, pass it, and negotiate it. The first gun safety bill in 30 years. We got done. They said it was impossible. You can't do that. We made it. It's into law right now. We helped expand the child tax credit to help families pay for childcare. Again, these things I learned from President Clinton, President Obama, working with them and seeing that actually you can do the tough stuff like the Affordable Care Act. You can do these things if we fight for it, we fight hard, and we stand up. When I first ran for Congress, the first Democrat in 84 years to win my seat. First, I only went up here to beat a Republican sitting to win my seat, and I'll tell you how we did it. By actually fighting for ideas, fighting for the right stuff, and getting up every day, and not being afraid to throw a punch to win. So we got to win in November. We got to get our costs down. We got to get our taxes down. We can make life more affordable. We can do this. There's no reason we can't. And we can fight Trump and stop him in the meantime. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, here's question number 3. Currently in New Jersey, various municipalities have rent control. However, there is no statewide rent control. Would you support a bill or a law to enforce rent control, housing stability, to prevent New Jersey residents from becoming unhoused? And this time I'm going to start with you, Mr. Gottheimer.
Thanks. I think right now, as was been pointed out, and we'll see this over and over again, is we're dealing with something that is untenable and is forcing people out of our state, right? Rents are up 33% in the last few years. We have the highest property taxes in the country. We have to do something about this because people just can't afford to live here or when they graduate to stay here or to retire here. My tax cut plan gives renters a rebate. It gives a property tax cut of nearly 15% across the board. It says to seniors, if you turn 70 while you're here, every year after, you're going to get a senior bonus, right? We're going to do everything we can to make life more affordable. But if we don't get more housing, if we don't actually get more housing that's affordable into our state, build more and get it built faster, we're never going to have enough and prices will just keep going up and up and up, and it will be untenable for people to stay here. So that's what we got to do. We need more housing that's affordable. We need policies that actually give people who own a home or rent some help, because it's just too damn expensive in our state. And these are things we can do. We can pay for doing them and actually make sure that our state will have people come in here as they should be and not leaving. Thanks.
Mr. Fulop.
The short answer is yes. I think we do need a statewide rent control law, but more than that, you also need to improve what's existing there today. There's a lot of flaws in it. First, the current rent control laws only are pertaining to buildings of 4 units and above, and I think we need to think about that. Secondly, when you have tax abatements and incentives, how do you tie that into rent control and rent limitations? Today, once somebody has those incentives, they don't exist. They expire at the same time that the incentives expire, and they don't last in perpetuity. I think we need to change that. I think Josh is right about housing construction. We're building about 2,500 affordable units per year. It's woefully below what we need to be doing. We could double that, and I think that we've outlined a plan to do that. So the short answer is yes, rent control is necessary. More opportunities for housing is necessary. As a governor, we would pursue that.
Mr. Zelensky.
So yes, the short answer is yes. We need more housing, and it needs to be affordable, but also our taxes need to be brought down. Our expenses on everything from healthcare to food and all that. My goal is to actually create a public bank for the state of New Jersey, very similar to what the Bank of North Dakota has done since 1919, and it has been consecutively beating regular commercial banks. Why are we paying interest to commercial banks when we should actually be taking that money and put it back into our state so we can create the infrastructure that is needed throughout transportation, to housing, to everything. I'm going to cut it short right there.
Thank you very much. Congresswoman Mikey Sherrill.
You hear me? The rent control that I'm familiar with is New York City, and it's actually doesn't seem to be working very well for that city. In fact, we see it passed on generation to generation and not actually serving some of the people that truly need the help there. But we do have to do something about rents. I've been talking to people all over the state. I spoke to a woman in Patterson who had to come out of retirement and start working again because she was going to lose her apartment. A single mom who had to move her children and herself out of the apartment they'd grown up in because she couldn't afford the rent anymore. So what I think we need to do is build more houses. I mean, we have the second worst housing availability in the nation right now. If we don't address the supply problem, we're never going to get prices down. We're about 200,000 houses short of where we need to be. So what I've done is come up with a plan so we can push money into remediating and repurposing commercial properties, so we can ensure that we are cutting down on permitting, so we can address homes, so we can look across the state at those areas that need to be revitalized and want to have growth in their homes. And I also think we need to address where we're building homes, making sure that we are addressing the infrastructure needs, such as the transportation needs, the grocery store needs, the school needs of the homes we're building. So I think that's where we can really make a huge difference, because as we see people not being able to afford homes, they can't move into the rental market. I'd finally just add that if we are going to grow generational wealth in this state, we need to have people into home ownership. That is the key way that I think we can grow generational wealth. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Baraka.
So thank you. We do need to have statewide rent control in this state. We need it, even if it's temporary for 2 or 3 years. Mayor would know it takes 18 months for development to happen, at least. During the 18 months that we're developing property, you need to be able to stabilize people's rents. They can't wait for us to build all of the housing that we need to build. And immediately we need to stabilize people's rents by having rent control for everyone. Every single property in the state of New Jersey that is rented has to be stabilized through rent control, a moratorium, straight up right away. The public bank, New Jersey Citizens Action, and I helped, try to orchestrate that in the state. It was emaciated, brought down. It's not the public bank that we want it to be, but it is a scaffold of that. And the reason I bring that up is because we need to begin to invest money in there. Cities, counties, state needs to invest money in there. CRAs from banks, from commercial banks that have to give money to communities that they have not been doing, put it in our public bank, and we use that to begin to invest in low-income housing and affordable housing throughout the state of New Jersey, targeting first areas where there's transit, because you cannot build affordable housing where there's no transit. 50% of the people in Newark don't drive. If you build housing where there's no transit, there's no access to opportunity, no access to jobs, no access to the supermarket, no access to healthcare. We start where that is first, and we triple or quadruple the number of housing that's built. We need to be building 20 to 40,000 units of housing a year in the state, not 2,000 to 3,000 units. And we can do that collectively if the state took this on and not put it on the backs of municipalities who've never built housing before in their life.
Time. Mr. Sweeney.
First, you heard from everyone, we need to build more homes. We need about 200,000 more homes in the state of New Jersey, because that's why things are so expensive. Second, we got to stop the nonsense about the Mount Laurel law. That was passed in 1971. That decision was decided. And we have towns fighting on a regular basis to stop affordable housing. That was my townhouse when I first got married. That was affordable housing. Our state has the most the sixth worst segregated school system in the nation, because we send kids to school by zip code. So I don't know how well rent control works. I've seen it work, I've seen it not work. But the way you bring down costs and the way you fix the segregation in our schools is we build housing in all communities. Thank you.
Mr. Spiller.
Thank you. Well, I think this is an example of where, experience matters in getting things done, right? So I stand before you as somebody who passed the first ever rent control law in Montclair, right? Because we know that all options have to be on the table, and we were a victim of ever increasing rents, and we had to do something about it coming through COVID. That's a huge piece. But as also noted, though, we've got to get more houses that folks can get into. When we all talk about these issues, the difference is it's personal for me. It took me 2 years to afford my first home in Montclair. Was barely able to get in, but finally I was able to buy that multifamily home, a 1-bedroom with a 4-bedroom above, right? But I know that even now, folks, nobody can buy that, because the LLCs, the corporate interests, venture capitalists are all buying up all the multifamily homes. And what are they doing? They're raising the rents on everybody that's there. So if you're trying to buy that first-time home, if you have to pay so much more, your mortgage is too high or you're outbid, and if you're renting there, you're paying much more as well. As governor, what I would do is say, we, the people, are going to have the first opportunity to buy these homes, so we can have that as a first-time home buying opportunity. As mayor, I saw it when you've got all these abandoned properties that the banks sit on and hold. I'd bring them back on the market so folks can have that option as well. And of course, folks that have been in foreclosure and lost homes, we want to bring those on the market. We want to try and stop folks from getting into foreclosure to begin with. But with rents, this is a key piece. We've got to be partners. And Governor, I would do that. I wouldn't leave it up to our townships on their own to build the affordable housing they need. I would say we're coming in and building it with you. So you're not getting 400 units, 380 are high-end luxury and 20 affordable, which is not what we need, raising everyone's rents and out of line with the character. We're going to build 50 so that we've got 20 affordable, 20 workforce housing, 20 senior or other layers we want to add. We get the housing both in the rental market and also in the home ownership. That's how we address the issue as we go forward. Thank you.
Next question. What are your plans to offset the losses to education that Washington's agenda creates? How would you protect the funding for public education? How would you plan to support students that need accommodations? Let's start out this time with Mr. Sweeney.
Well, I'm proud that we led the effort to fully fund the school funding formula. And we finally did it after almost 2 decades. I was very proud. The city of Newark, where the mayor's at, they were woefully unfunded. So people say, oh, they got so much money. Yeah, because they didn't have the money they were supposed to have. So my big concern is Washington. And I know our congressional candidates, our congressional members are going to fight like hell to restore funding. But we only got a limited amount of money. We're not like Washington. We don't get to print money. We don't get to run deficits. You know what I mean? Like, we don't got it, we can't spend it. We can't tell them to keep the mint open and keep printing money. So we got to work with our federal partners to ensure that they fight like hell to protect our dollars. Because we finally, after a very long time, fully funded the schools. It was, thank you, very difficult to do, but we're there. And by the way, we finally fully funded extraordinary special education. Very personal to me. I have a daughter with a disability. Got it 100% funded. I left office. It's down to 54% again. We got to make sure we don't forget the kids that need champions too. Thank you.
Mrs. Sherrill.
So you specifically mentioned some children with disabilities, and I think that's probably because we're hearing that the Trump administration wants to cut the Department of Ed, and we know that that Title I funding is so critically important to our students here with disabilities. We know it's important to underserved students in our state, but that's not all. They're coming after things like SNAP funding for poor students to have meals at school. They're coming after things like Medicaid, where 1 in 3 New Jersey children receive their medical insurance, coming after Medicaid funding, where people who have their parents in nursing homes rely on that funding. So we know again and again and again, the hits keep coming from Washington that are really going to attack the most vulnerable people in our state. So the question being, like, what are we going to do? It's not as if we're talking about a couple $100 here or there. We're talking about billions with a B of dollars that we're going to be hit by the state. This dollars that the state should be appropriate, or the federal government should be appropriating to our state. So we're going to take them to court. I mean, we're going to start there, right? A strong attorney general to take them to court with the money Congress has appropriated to our state to fight for it back. But I think we're going to have to go further. If they are not going to meet the federal goals, that the federal constitutional requirements in some cases that they need to meet, then we need to demand that they return our money, because New Jersey's a net donor state. And so we are sending more money to the federal government than we are getting back. And that is money that we will spend on our people if the federal government refuses to. Thank you.
Mr. Baraka.
So I agree. That's why, money in Washington, that's why we need Congress people that are going to fight for our rights down there and make sure we get what we're supposed to get and push back against Donald Trump. The reality is we have to fully fund our school system, right? And the funding formula is broken. So we have to change that. And we have to weight it around kids with English language learning, around kids with special needs. And we need to fund schools based on diversity as well. We need to force schools to begin to bring more diverse populations into their school districts and give them a diversity bonus as well. We need to begin to combine school districts. There are too many school districts in New Jersey. There are more school districts in the state than there are actually cities. So there are more superintendents than there are mayors. So we need to combine these school districts. We shouldn't be funding school districts with one school in them. We should have a unified school district with lower costs and help us focus on the delivery of instruction. That needs to happen immediately, if not sooner. I agree that we give the federal government more money than we get in return. These are things that we've known for a very, very long time. It's not something that we just figured out. We've known this for a minute. And so we need to be pushing back and saying, again, that we will withhold some of our dollars if you do not do the things that you're saying you're going to do for our folks here in the state of New Jersey. We have to fund the schools by making sure our budget is sound. And we make sure the budget is sound by repealing the Christie tax cuts. From 2010 to present day, we've given millionaires and billionaires in this state $15 billion. We need to pull that money back, put it in our budget immediately so we can have the money to fully fund our schools the way they need to be funded.
Mr. Zelensky. Mr. Zelensky, yep. Go ahead, sir.
So I agree with Barack. We need to actually make
Baraka.
I'm sorry?
Baraka.
Sorry. I stand corrected. But we need to fully fund our schools, and we need to go toe-to-toe with the federal government. New Jersey is not going to be taken as hostage. And we need to, again, hold back funds and take them to court to make sure that we are liquid, and we don't have any problems going through the state with our special needs children. The other thing I agree also is we do need to create some sort of consolidation with our school districts. And I'm going to leave it at that right now. Sorry.
Mr. Spiller.
Yeah, thank you. Listen, the question was, what are we going to do when Donald Trump is coming after us here? Now, let me be clear as an educator, right? I understand that. What are we talking about? Right now, we're talking about $1.1 billion with the loss of funds for Title I and IDEA. Again, that's students with special needs, students from low-income districts, putting food in the schools. These are the folks that he's going after, our kids, our most needy kids, right? And we've got to understand that he asked that question, he takes that action, and we're all scrambling in this state. Let me tell you something. Whether we're talking 1.1 billion there, whether we're talking about the trillions of dollars they're trying to pull out of Medicaid, whether we're talking about the money they're going to withhold for voting, whether we're going to talk, we can go on and on and on, but we know it's $22.5 billion a year that we get from the federal government. And let me tell you, we can talk about a strong attorney general and certainly at a point when to make sure we're fighting in the courts. We can try to see what the legal ramifications of us withholding funds are. But here's a surefire way we can make sure we fund every single program that's needed in this state, including our schools, and that we have full control over, and that is to change our tax code in New Jersey. We know what they're doing. We can read it. It's Project 2025, as you noted. They are taking all of these dollars out of our pockets and every program that exists so they can give massive tax cuts to billionaires like Elon Musk and ultra-wealthy corporations. We need to aggressively change our tax code to make sure we go after every single one of those dollars, every dime that the windfall that those ultra-wealthy get, and put it right back into our system and our programs that are needed. That's how we make up these kind of gaps, because we're not going to find a billion here, a billion there, 22 billion there. We've got to go after the money, follow the money. That's how we get this done. And we can't have 8, 9 months in between. We got to do it right away when they do it.
Time. Mr. Gottheimer.
What's unbelievable is how Trump is just checking through the list. He's going after seniors, after Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, shutting it down. Then he says, well, okay, if I can't just go after the seniors, who's next? Let's go after our children, is what he's saying, right? When you take food away from kids who are hungry with school breakfast and school lunch, when you try to gut education, and 10% of our budget in the state comes from the federal government for our neediest kids who have kids with disabilities, kids who need extra help, the idea that you would go after them completely is against everything we believe in. So yes, we fight the president and the administration on all this. It's what we're going to do in Washington. It's what we're doing to fight it. But the bottom line is we got to make sure we're prepared here in New Jersey at home. We got to make sure our schools, we got to change the school formula, as was pointed out. We have to make sure that we start being smarter about how we do school, instead of having, as the mayor pointed out, having superintendents over and over again, instead of trying to get more economies of scale and being smarter and putting more money into the classroom and less on just the administration of it. Then we got to make sure that we have pre-K, universal pre-K, and that we actually take care of universal kindergarten like we're working on now, so that all full-day kindergarten, so that all of our kids can have the opportunity to succeed. Because if we don't invest now in them, what's our future going to look like? And that's why this fight is the biggest fight, because it's about our children and it's about our future. And the fight is just beginning. We better get ready. We need people who are ready to fight and know how to win. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Fuller?
I want to take a second back and say the question was about what are we going to do in this moment in time when President Trump cuts funding. And you heard a lot of platitudes about we got to fight for better schools, which we do. We all know that. Polling would tell you that. You know that. We don't need anybody to reaffirm that. What are we going to do in this moment in time that are concrete steps? The first is obviously litigation and a strong attorney general. I stand alone in the fact that we have a current attorney general that has led the fight nationally, pushing back against Trump, and I think he deserves the opportunity to stay for continuity. And that's important to all of you. Secondly, we talk about cuts to education. What are we going to do about that? We need to think about the surplus that New Jersey has, that Governor Murphy has built, and using that to offset the reductions from President Trump. It's a concrete step. Phil Murphy has raised that surplus in a meaningful way, and he deserves credit for it. But I do not know about anybody that goes to bed at night and says, thank God that New Jersey has a BB++ credit rating. They think more about what their vulnerability is, and education is a part of that. Third, we need a constitutional amendment to make sure that education is protected in New Jersey, in our state constitution. We don't talk about that enough. At the end of the day, the Department of Education is not codified as it should be in the state constitution. And what we should learn is that if a MAGA Republican, if Chitterelli gets elected, or if Spadia gets elected, you will be having prayers in your public school. You will be having vouchers. You need to think about how to protect ourselves. There's a lesson here that nobody is talking about. Constitutional amendment is important.
All right, I've been reminded to let folks know that there will be students in the aisles. They'll be collecting your 3x5 cards, correct? So they will be in the aisles collecting your 3x5 cards. We have some coming up right now. We're going to move on to the next question. Did everybody get a 3x5 card? Hold them up so they can see where they come through the aisles, please. All right. Considering the rising cost of living in New Jersey, what specific measures will you take to make housing, which includes rent, healthcare, and education, more affordable for working class families? And how will you navigate those measures under the new administration in Washington while protecting New Jerseyans? Let us start out this time with Mr. Gottheimer.
Your first part was about affordability, right? Because I couldn't
Yes,
hear those
considering the rising cost of living in New Jersey, what specific measures will you do to deal with housing, rent, healthcare, education more affordable for working class families? And how will you navigate those measures under the new administration in Washington while protecting New Jerseyans?
Well, I think if we've learned anything, and when I go to diners and like many of my colleagues here, go talk to people every single day. And we sit down and talk to folks. The number one issue I hear about is, I love the state, but I'm struggling to get by. I'm trying my hardest here, but utility prices are going to be up 20%. I don't know how to pay those utility bills. Childcare costs, second most expensive in the country. Taxes out of control. And I don't know how I'm going to afford to stay in my house or afford rent. Healthcare costs through the roof. Food prices through the roof. We got to do something. I put out a tax cut plan for Jersey that is focused, not only is it expert-backed and paid for, but it's focused on making sure we take on the costs that we're dealing with in Jersey, that families are dealing with. It's got a property tax cut, a middle-class income tax cut. It's got help for seniors so they can afford to stay here and do everything we can afford to get more jobs and growth here, good-paying jobs, so we can actually grow our state and have more opportunity. And it does it in a way that's smart and responsible, so that we actually make sure we make our pension payments so that we can continue to grow and be smart as a state. We've got to help people make life more affordable so they can stay here. And we got to help middle-class, hardworking folks be able to afford to stay here. And to me, that's got to be the goal. And remind everyone, that's what Democrats care about. We're about opportunity. We're about helping regular folks and labor and people get by. And that's what we're about. And we got to start making sure we put our policies behind that. Thank you.
Mr. Fulop.
But try to be mindful for the time here. I think there are three things that you could do, really concrete steps. The first, in New Jersey, you pay corruption tax. The structure of government dictates that a small group of leaders dictate how your government works. They've monetized it in a way that is unique to New Jersey, and I think accountability matters. This is the first election where there'll be a primary for governor and a primary at the assembly level, and creating that accountability will ultimately flow back to you. Secondly, I'm going to go full circle to something I said initially about mayoral experience and an executive experience and understanding unfunded mandates that come from Trenton that sound good and feel good. But if you don't have an executive there that has experienced local government, it's left to the mayor to deliver the taxes and the bill to the residents. And understanding that connectivity is really, really important. And then third, I think common sense is we need to rethink the tax code and making sure everybody pays their fair share. A millionaire's tax 20 years ago is no longer a millionaire's tax today. You need to add extra back brackets to make sure that everybody is accountable and paying what they should be paying. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Sweeney.
Well, there we go. We all have the same problem. Honestly, I want to start with about Washington and Trump. Now, how you fight them? Not with paddles holding them up, right? not holding paddles and colors. You got to stand up. During the president's speech, he threw out a Democrat congressman. Did anybody watch the speech? And guess what? He left and no one else did. We all need to stand up to this animal. We need to walk out. Why are we going to sit there and listen to his BS, belittling us, beating us up? It's not acceptable. And the way you fix New Jersey is you grow its economy. See, I think we tax too much, honestly. I think we tax way, way too much. And the more you tax, you're just having a diminishing return each time you raise it. You know, we've seen it in many, many taxes. So growing your economy, growing your rateable base is a hell of a lot better than raising taxes. You get the money from the new jobs that are coming in. So, like I said, I made a pledge. I'm not raising taxes, but I will grow the economy. Thank you.
Mrs. Sherrill.
You know, I think as we've seen the rising wealth gap, this one woman I spoke to in Trenton really encapsulated it for me. She said, you know what, Mikey, there's rich people here in New Jersey, and then there's working people, and all the working people do is just work, work, work. And that's what it's feeling like right now. And so to your point, to address these costs so that people can really afford to stay here, to raise their kids here, to have their parents retire here, we've got to address housing. I've said it again and again. You've heard it from other people. We cannot make New Jersey more affordable if we don't make housing more affordable. And we have got to build housing. We've got to get down the cost of healthcare. Right now, getting sick in this state can be a one-way ticket from the middle class into poverty. We've got to make sure we're taking care of things like the PBMs, those middlemen that can raise costs about 10 times on your pharmaceutical drugs. We've got to address utility costs, power costs. Right now, we have a grid provider, PJM, who hasn't hooked up a lot of clean, cheap power. You know, when I tell people that Texas is the #1 solar provider, they say that's because solar's cheap, Mikey. And I'm like, that's exactly right. We have got to get it into our grid. Community solar is a great way forward here. So these are the things we can do. It's what I've talked about in my affordability plan. I encourage you to go read it, and we'll continue to drive down costs for New Jerseyans. Thank you.
Mr. Zelensky.
So yeah, one of the things is solar is a clean energy, and it's actually cheaper than what you're currently paying for your electric right now. I am turning on residential people that instead of their bill going from $300 to $400 per month, I could actually have solar installed for $200 a month, and within 20 years, it's paid off. So this is the way that we change the state. I want to see individuals become independent, because whether you pay it to JCP&L or Atlantic City Electric, if they come in and install solar, you're still renting it. We should be able to own our own systems. The other thing is this. I believe that increasing job opportunities and manufacturing throughout the state is a way that you increase revenue and bring down taxes for everybody across the board. Again, I'm looking at renewable energies. I'm looking into other different manufacturing, homeowners, things of this nature that could actually increase the revenues throughout the entire state of New Jersey.
Thank you, Mr. Spiller.
Thank you. Look, there's 4 major pieces that we can address to really make things more affordable for New Jersey. Number 1, it's housing. I was talking about that before. My personal experience trying to buy that first home. Talked about how we get more folks into home ownership at a lower cost, and also how we address the issue of rent. That's the first piece of it that we've got to address, and exactly how I said before. Second thing, we've got to have quality early education and childcare. I say it as somebody who has a 7-year-old and a 4-year-old now, and I bet many are like me. You're immediately scrambling along with your spouse or other to try to get on that site and get off that wait list that you need for your child. If you're lucky enough, you're paying that average of $19,000 a year here in New Jersey. That is unaffordable for so many families. As governor, what I would do is cut through a lot of that red tape to allow more folks to be able to come and do that work. I'd also to change the way they're compensated. Right now, based on attendance instead of enrollment, and nobody can operate that way. We've got to change that up so we can provide more access at a lower cost. Third, we've got to make sure we're addressing the issue of rising healthcare costs. 20% increase, 24% increase year after year after year. And I'm proud to be the person up here on this stage, the only one who's designed healthcare plans that have saved billions of dollars, both for the employer and the employee. So we're not having that fight back and forth as to who pays, but we're providing quality care. And as governor, I know how to go after the big cost drivers that still exist. Hospital billing and insurance costs, right? The insurance companies that don't tell us what these big pieces are, right? And why they're charging us these dollars. And finally, it's energy and the environment. And I link them both because, as you've heard from folks before, we've got to get more energy onto our grid, or otherwise our costs keep going up. But we have to also convey that there is a cost to not doing enough.
Time.
The floods that happen every other year, the cost to pump out our basements, the cost of inability to afford our insurance. That's how we address these pieces. Thank you.
Mr. Baraka.
So I agree that we have to lower costs. A few of those costs are energy costs, and I agree we need to build all kind of alternative forms of energy, but we have to cap these energy costs from all of these energy companies like PSE&G and all these places that are raising our rates all the time. We have to cap those costs. We have to begin to challenge insurance companies that are raising the rates, that are charging us based on our zip code, based on our education, based on our credit score. We need to stop that and begin to reverse that. We need to build more housing. Obviously, that helps us reduce housing costs. We need to build more housing, not just rental housing, but home ownership as well. We need to begin talking about how to invest in small business, right? But in order to do these things, you are going to have to raise taxes. Let me tell you that, because we're not paying as a mayor. We don't pay for things by selling goods out of the back of City Hall. Our revenue comes from taxes. If you don't reduce costs, prices are going to go up, and it comes from taxes. And if you're not taxing the people who have the money, you're going to tax the middle class. That's exactly what happens. We tax you and your taxes go up because we give tax breaks to billionaires and millionaires. They get the tax breaks. So when people say we're going to lower your taxes, they're not talking about you. They're talking about millionaires. Millionaires get a tax break. You pay more. So we have to stabilize that by turning it right side up, by changing the tax code so the people that are making millions of dollars are paying more of their income than somebody who's paying $75,000. We can actually give a tax break to people who make $90,000 or less in this state if we brought back the tax code the proper way.
Thank you. All right, what is your assessment of New Jersey's 2024 Master Energy Plan outlining the state's strategic use, management, and development of energy? What's its goal of 100% clean energy, or was the goal of 100% clean energy generation by 2035 practical before the change of administration in Washington? And what are its prospects now? Mr. Zelensky, you could start out, please.
Sure. We can get there. It's probably going to be 2045. The state of New Jersey uses 77,000 gigawatts of electricity per year. Half of that is with natural gas. The other half is nuclear, and probably about, I think, 5% right now is renewables. I know I've heard in the past some of the candidates have mentioned about nuclear energy as a clean energy. I have taken a look at the numbers, and a nuclear power plant will probably cost somewhere between $30 to $35 billion, and it'll take a decade to actually get that implemented for an 1,100 megawatt system. We could actually do this with solar within 1 year, instead of it costing $27 a price per watt for nuclear. We could get it with battery storage for $4.75. Now, to me, I think $4.75 is a little bit cheaper than $27 for nuclear. Plus, the same thing, we could actually have that implemented within 18 months installed. My goal is to actually install a gigawatt of solar as well as wind power every single year.
Time. Mr. Baraka.
So yes, I agree with 2035. I think that we should continue to pursue that. I don't think we should push the date back. That's the only way where we diverge, because I think we need an objective to meet. And that's the objective we should be trying to meet, 2035. Obviously, nationally, they tried to derail wind energy, but I think we should continue to pursue it, right? But I also think we should continue to pursue solar. In Newark, Atlantic City, Patterson, we've already gotten federal grants to begin to expand solar in our cities. Hopefully that money was put before us before Trump begins to try to pull all of it back. We are trying desperately to begin to provide an alternative in Newark for people to drop their bills, PSE&G bills, which are too high, to use solar as an opportunity to do that. I would say we have to lean on that statewide. We have to begin to rejuvenate the wind energy. Again, no matter what it takes, we have to fight to make sure we already have a company that has a license. We have to push back and make sure that they're able to build here in New Jersey and fight the mythology of folks that are saying that these windmills are ugly or we don't want them around or they're killing birds. This is all mythology, and we have to fight against that. And I think we, no pun intended, the win is at our sails, because ultimately it's costing too much. Energy in New Jersey is costing too much, and places like Hunterdon County is experiencing blackouts, right? They're losing power all of the time. So it's important for us to get alternative forms of energy on that grid.
Mrs. Sherrill.
I'm a huge proponent of clean energy and have been working towards this for quite some time, and that's why I'm the endorsed candidate of the League of Conservation Voters, and we've spoken about this 2035 goal. And this was something that I think was a great goal to have when Governor Murphy enunciated it, because it gives us a pathway forward. It gives us a benchmark to meet, and I think we should still work hard to meet that. But can we do it now when the president has really said he's not going to allow any building on the federal lands for wind power turbines, and that's really slowed down? I think we have to be real here about what the challenges are in our state. Number one, permitting reform. It's desperately needed, because guess what? We are not going to be able to move forward in wind right now. The president is not leasing those fields, but Virginia is, because they moved forward more quickly, because they got through the permitting process and started the build early, and now the president can't stop it. So we've got to do better in this state. We also have to be realistic about where our power is coming from right now, because as we pat ourselves on the back about some of our clean power, we are buying power on the market, and guess where that's coming from? That's coming from West Virginia and Pennsylvania, and if you hear that, you should hear coal and fracking. So we have got to do better, and that is why I'm such a huge proponent of community solar and forcing PJM to get solar into our grid. Thanks.
Mr. Gottheimer.
What's happened is, and I was talking to some folks in Elizabeth the other day who came up and someone said to me, I don't know what to do. I used to be able to pay to heat my home and air condition in the summer, and I can't afford it anymore, and I'm on a fixed income. I don't know what to do. And unfortunately, as we keep having more and more demand with our electric cars and all the great stuff that we have in our devices, all we're doing, and AI coming, all we're doing is demanding more and more off the grid. And so what's happening is now we're actually buying from other states. Our peak power, just pointed out, is actually coming during the peak hours from places like West Virginia. So you're buying coal, the dirtiest stuff around. So if we don't have taken all the above approach where we look around and say, we better get small nuclear in the future, which is coming. We better actually look for ways like solar. We are the solar. We've always been a great leader in solar. We should be doubling down on solar and alternative energies. And we got to have the big goals, as was pointed out. We got to aim high as a state. We always, as a country, have aimed high, and we achieve these things if we go after them. But we got to be realistic. If we don't look at everything and figure this out, these bills will just keep going up and up and up because we don't have enough supply to meet all that demand. We got to look forward, whether it's wind, whether it's solar. We must have a big solution and think big. We can do this if we think big. It's not impossible, but the challenge is coming. We got to get those bills down and make your life more affordable.
Mr. Speller.
Yeah, listen, I think as folks have said, we face a big challenge here. We had a big challenge before. We've got a bigger challenge now with who's in the White House and what he's doing. But I support the 2035 goal, right? I believe that we've got to try and keep moving forward to meet that. Really proud of our energy aggregation, residential energy aggregation that we did in Montclair, the microgrid, because these are steps you can take to try to move forward to meet those goals. And as a state, we've got to do the same thing here. Look, I understand we've got to pivot for sure, right? So when he's pulling all the permits from wind, we've got to look at, yes, solar, but how can we invest also in the advancing battery technology so we can store that energy and use it in time of need? We can be innovative leaders in that green economy, right? Because these are creating jobs of the future, but also providing us the framework to be able to utilize the options that are available to us to help meet our energy demands. It is true. We are using more and more energy each and every year as we move to electrification of our grid for our vehicles, as we talk about new advancing technologies like AI and the amount of power that it takes. We all want that power, yes. So we've got to look at all our solutions, but it is the clean energy goal that we should all reach for, because right now we are dependent on big oil, right? And we're seeing the cost of that. We're seeing the loss of these additional energies from coming on. As governor, I would invest. I would invest in these technologies to make sure that these companies that are seeing the federal government pull away from them know they have a state that's going to put in, not just because it's good for the environment, because it's also good for our bottom line. It's good for our dollars on the bills that we pay now. And I'm telling you folks, as I was saying before, I'm tired of making those calls, sending the fire department out to pump out someone's basement or a small business because of that flood that keeps happening year after year. Or if you're in a shore community where you're devastated and then you can't get that insurance. We've got to address this now. There's a cost to not doing enough.
Mr. Fulop.
Yeah, I differ with some of the others with regards to the all above approach. The reality is that there's always going to be an excuse on why the moment now isn't right for thinking about climate change and sustainability. And if you believe that climate change is a real challenge, we need to stay committed to a goal that is 2035. If you move a goal because times are tough, it means the goal is irrelevant. It will get moved again and again. And anybody here who has a family of young people or old people or sees climate change firsthand and is realistic about it, you cannot waste the next 3 or 4 years. So I would stay committed to that 2035 goal. I wowould tell you that there isn't an administration in New Jersey that has more experience with electrification, with conversion of our vehicles over to electric, with microgrids, because it's something that we have believed in. I do think that you can think about how do we move forward in the climate change conversation around energy and sustainability with a Trump agenda. And we shouldn't deviate from our goals, but we should be thinking about what works at this moment. And so to your initial question, the 2035 objectives that Phil Murphy said are important, and I would stand by them.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sweeney.
Yeah, I'm very proud that I was the prime sponsor of RGGI, Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative. I sponsored the legislation to create the solar industry in the state of New Jersey. I sponsored the offshore wind industry, so when the people were complaining about the turbines and the shore, blame me, right? Unfortunately, we didn't get them to happen. And the governor's goal is a worthy goal, but something happened that really screwed things up. We started reducing the supply of energy in the state of New Jersey. We reduced it. At the same time, data centers and charging stations were coming. So supply and demand, it's very simple. And I'm probably the only one that's not afraid to say this up here. We need gas right now. We need reliable gas, renewable gas, however you want to say it, and pipelines. Because when I did that, and I'm the one that kept the nuclear plants closing. If those nuke plants closed, 43% of our energy was going to be gone. So we need the all-the-above approach so we can afford that clean energy. Remember when flat screen TVs came out? They were like $4,000, and everyone's like, wow, now they're like $300. My point is the technology will catch up, and the energy will get more affordable. And I agree sticking with a goal of 2035, but I absolutely believe we need all the above. And oh, by the way, hydrogen also. Thank you.
Thank you very much, everybody.
I mentioned earlier, I was supposed to leave here at 8 because I had some other commitments, but I'll be here for one more question if that's okay.
You got it. Thank
Sorry.
you very much. Everybody all right out there? You're still with us, right? All right, we're going to now move to some of the audience questions. Are you ready? These questions have come to us, ladies and gentlemen, from the audience. These are the questions they really want to get answers to. There are currently over 20 lawsuits against the state police by current and former state troopers, ranging from African Americans, veterans, Hispanics, to women and gays and disabled people. What is your plan to ensure a fair and even playing field for all people who are not straight white males in the state police if you are elected. Mr. Sweeney, since you have to leave, we'll give that question to you to start out.
Thank you. It starts with a new colonel of the state police. And I'm committed to that. And I'm absolutely committed to that because this is not acceptable. We've been here before too, just so you know. Right? I'm looking at my friend Richard Smith. This is the 70s, the 80s, the 90s. This ain't new, but it's old, and we need to be done with it. So we need new leadership, and I commit to having new leadership there. They make sure the promotions are fair. Thank you.
Mr. Spiller.
Yeah, listen, we spent the last week, we were just recently speaking before the African American Chamber, and we were talking about the disparity study, businesses and the lack of opportunity for minority women-owned businesses. And one of the things that I just think is just striking in that conversation and related to this conversation as well is I appreciate we change folks, we change parts in a system, but if we're not changing the system itself, the system is going to keep giving us exactly what the system keeps giving us. It works exactly as it was designed and intended. So for me, this whole race, and certainly even this question, is about changing a system where we account for different things when we value who we bring in, right, at all levels, right, of policing. When we make sure that the partnership and understanding of the serve and protect is at the core of the mission, as opposed to a tagline or an add-on. We've got to make sure that we are working to change these systems broadly, and certainly in this case, it's got to be systematic, right? It's not just one person. I appreciate that. But if that's how we're looking at this, we're never going to see the changes we need, folks. We've got to dig a lot deeper and make sure we're changing the system fully. Thank you.
Mr. Gottheimer.
I think it's critically important that we make sure our policing around the state actually takes input from the community, actually gets advice from the community. And when you talk about community policing, which I think is critically important, and we've done this well in the past, and we have failed miserably in the past. And right now, I think we have to make sure we do everything we can to be in the community, to be responsive. And law enforcement's got to be deep in the community and part of the community, and understanding and listening to the community, and representing and have people from the community. And I think that is critically important. And as that's part one, but part two is making sure we actually, and I've been very focused on this in Washington, to actually invest to protect. And what I mean by that is you can't expect, if we don't do real training and actually have the right processes in place, you'll never get better. You got to actually spend money on the training. Right now, we don't have enough resources to actually make sure we're putting the money into not just in train people, but also make sure when there's mental health issues, we deal with it, to make sure that we're being responsive to the latest challenges. If we don't do that, we're just going to keep having problem after problem after problem. So that's what I would do right away. We got to make sure that we're being smart about real community policing and actually investing properly in training, which we're not doing enough of right now.
Mr. Fuller.
I think there's a couple things that you could do. I'm responsible for a police department with 1,000 people. We reformed it dramatically when I took office. Police officers don't always love me because I've created a different sort of culture, and that's important. When I came into Jersey City, our police department was predominantly Caucasian, despite the fact that we are the single most diverse city in the country. We changed how we recruit, how we do outreach, and today it is predominantly minority. And the reason that I think that is important is because a police department should reflect the community that it serves. And that doesn't happen at the state front. I would say the second thing is I agree with Senator Sweeney with regards to discipline and accountability, and that starts at leadership. You need leadership that is going to change the culture and discipline officers that don't do the right thing, and you don't see that enough throughout the state of New Jersey. I think the third thing is, thank you, the third thing is around community review boards. You need to have accountability from the public, CCRBs. That is the best way to make sure that there's an intersection between police leadership and the community, and eyes are looking at what's happening at all times. That needs to change at the municipal level and at the state level, and I think it is possible. Like I said earlier, not every police officer in Jersey City loves me because we changed a lot in the police department, but it's worked. Crime is at a historic low because of the progress that we've made, and you could replicate that statewide.
Thank you. Mrs. Sherrill.
You know, I come from the military, and I can tell you that leadership starts at the top. So we do need a new police colonel. When I walked into a squadron, when I walked into a new command, I could always tell what the leader thought about issues like sexual assault, sexual harassment. We were going through a period of time when I was in the Navy after tailhook, when people had been assaulted. And I could always tell when I walked in if the commanding officer of that squadron thought that women belonged there, thought that minority people belonged there, or actually just wanted the good old boys club that he was used to. And it was usually a he. So that became apparent right away, because let me tell you this, and I think this is something that really adheres to our police department. Young people, especially young men, are very influenced by a tough guy, a big macho leader. And some of them are great leaders. But you also have to be somebody, if you are going to be the macho tough guy, that cares about the community you serve, that cares about vulnerable people. You have to be a protector. You cannot be a bully. And that's what we are seeing too many times from our state police force. We're seeing bullies. We're not seeing people who are there to protect and to serve. And that is what this community demands. Thank you.
Mr. Zelensky.
So we're all immigrants here. We all have come up from hundreds of years. Part of this also has to be with our education of our children as well. Doesn't matter what race, what color, what gender you are, we all bleed red. So that has to be shown from how we teach our children. And then also, as well, we need to bring this into a community atmosphere, that people really need to respect one another. It's not just, a policing situation, but it's the way that we respect one another throughout our country. I believe that there needs to be strong leadership, but at the same time, you should be responsible. You should be showing that you are respectful. One of the books that I always read was called Leaders Eat Last. And that's one of the things that we need to show from our commanding state police down to the municipalities.
Thank you very much, Mr. Baraka.
I remember a picture of Christine Todd Whitman on the highway searching Black people with the state police coming up as a college student. I saw her patting people down and took a picture and posed with it. So this goes back a long way. It's just not about leadership. As was stated, it's also about a system that rewards bad behavior, that rewards oppression and identifying and targeting communities. Yeah, we do need to talk about changing leadership, but we've done that several times. The state police was under a consent decree after that, and it still did nothing. There's something called the Police Training Commission that we need to begin to pay a lot of attention to in terms of how they train officers, what they're telling officers to do, what programs they make them go through, who's actually a part of the training, right? How long that training is. In Newark, we extend our training. We extend it because there are certain things that happen in the police training, in regular training, that don't happen, that we want to make sure happen. So we extend that. We're the only city to have a civilian complaint review board, right? We took it all the way to the Supreme Court to fight for subpoena power. We lost, but we took it there. I think statewide, we need a civilian complaint review board again, and we need it with subpoena power. We need that. And we need to change the makeup of the state police department. We've changed the makeup in Newark's police department because we created an alternative pathway to become a police officer outside of the civil service. We need to do that statewide because there's extenuating circumstances about the diversity of the state police.
Next question from the audience. New Jersey has some of the worst maternal mortality rates in the country. Black mothers remain 7.6 times more die in childbirth and related causes. 90% of these deaths are preventable. What is your plan to address these disparities? Your plan to save these lives? We'll start out this time with Mrs. Mikey Sherrill.
So when you look at women's health across the nation, it is far worse than men's health. It's been underinvested in. There are far worse outcomes. There are even doctors that can tell you that for the biggest killer of women, heart disease, they can't even identify it. They don't know what a woman's heart attack looks like. And in every single measure for Black women, it is worse. And especially and including maternal health here in this state. We have some of the worst results in this state, and it's not just for maternal health, it's for Black children in the first year of their life. So I have been a big proponent of Nurture and J, but we've got to do more. We've got to make sure we are getting into communities and ensuring people have access to healthcare, ensuring people have access to prenatal care. And then we also know that we have to take a look at ensuring people don't have, and this is something that we're seeing in New Jersey, don't have elective early C-sections. That actually really harms the outcomes of too many women, and banning those. And then we have to make sure we're taking care of women in that postpartum era. And that helps them care for their children as well. Look, as a mom of 4 kids, I can tell you, it's not just the 9 months, right? It's that bewildering first year as you're trying to breastfeed or you can't breastfeed and you need access to diapers and you need access to formula and you maybe need access to a stroller so you can just get out of your disaster of a home as you're trying to deal with your newborn. So these are the things we need to invest in to make sure that we have better Black maternal health in this state.
Thank you. Mr. Spiller.
I think those are all excellent examples of how we improve maternal health overall, and that's important. But specifically, again, when we look at a disparity, we have to look at the systems that are causing these problems. And yes, we can talk about access and the immediacy, right, when someone is giving birth, but it's so much more than that at an earlier stage. Look at who does not have, on an equal level, access to quality health care, right? That's a huge piece of it, because how healthy you are as you go through that process makes a difference. Right? Look at it right now. Who can take advantage of the programs that are offered and the dollars that are available? It's folks who know how to access systems and go through that process. And often it isn't someone who looks like me, right? When we talk about the fact that doctors don't listen to pregnant mothers and the indicators and the signs that they're talking about, who do they ignore most? They ignore Black women, right? So all of these things are part of the system that we have to work to, yes, through education, through the dollars that we invest at the state level. And certainly we all have that responsibility to make sure we're providing the care, from start here to birth and beyond, that especially, again, mothers of color experience at a disproportionate rate than we know that other women do. So yes, it's improving it for everyone. That's important, fully support it. But we have to be at the granular level looking at why is there the disparity that we see. And if we're not, again, focusing on how we change that broadly in a system, we're going to get maybe improvements, but we're going to keep these disparities that we've got to make sure we address as well.
Mr. Gottheimer.
Point, it is beyond heartbreaking that in the greatest country the world's ever known, we have Black women, Latino women, and other women of color who literally can't get access to the health care they need to get prenatal care. And then they show up at a hospital late because they didn't get the care, and then suddenly there's a crisis. And if we had just been able to give them the care they needed early on, we wouldn't have had that problem. There's no reason in our great country with all we have that we aren't solving this problem. And that we still in New Jersey, even though we've gotten a little better, and the First Lady of New Jersey has done a lot of work in maternal health, the bottom line is the disparity still exists and it's deep. We have to do more. I was in the hospital a few months ago with a colleague of mine. We're focused on this package called the Momnibus package in Congress, where we're saying, here are all the things we could do simply to track the problem and to get to the problem before it occurs, whether it's related to pregnancy and maternal health, or it's related to heart issues and strokes where they're higher and especially in the Black community. Look, we have to do better, and there's no reason why in our great state we can't fix this problem and address it right away. And as governor, I will. This is a top priority of mine. It has been for years. I've been focused on this, and this is something we can solve if we focus on it and are willing to focus on it, and there's no reason we're not doing more right now. Thank you.
Mr. Baraka.
So yes, African-American women die 7 times more likely than anybody else giving birth. But the real data point is that it doesn't matter their socioeconomic status. That's the real data point. The real data point, it does not matter if they live in Princeton or if they live in Newark. And that speaks clearly to the problem that there's cultural incompetence happening at these healthcare institutions. That there is not, it's not just access, it's equity. It's doulas and midwives that we need Medicaid and Medicare to pay for. We need a commission of women statewide to begin to look at these hospitals and these delivery rooms, to be looking at how African-American women are treated as they go in there, what doctors are saying. For example, a doctor won't believe African-American women saying, I'm in pain. They don't believe you. They think we can withstand pain more than everybody else or something. But the reality is you need a doula, you need a midwife. It has to be paid for by Medicaid and Medicare. We have to treat that the same way we treat a regular physician or folks that's in the hospital. We have to allow these families to come into the hospital with people they can trust, with people they know, with people they believe in, with people that are going to care for them. And you need to do this statewide. You need a commission of folks that are overseeing this process as it happens, because we can't keep saying that the problem is just about access. It is also about racism.
Time. Mr. Fuller.
I agree with a lot of that, and there's no question there's a racism conversation along with the access. There's a couple things in New Jersey that are specific and unique here. First, the fact that Horizon has a disproportionate monopoly on your healthcare system here is at the core of the problem. They dictate to the doctors what the reimbursement is and compress that every single year to a place where the doctors no longer control the outcome, and they make choices about who and why and where they want to serve different people. And that works in conjunction with a unique animal that we have here in New Jersey around the consolidation of hospitals. Nowhere else in the country does the consolidation of hospitals into these large systems exist like it does today here in New Jersey. And those hospitals are often in partnership with Horizon, which is a crazy thing, also unique to New Jersey. They acquire the medical practices, they squeeze them, and then for financial reasons, they always talk about, we're closing a hospital, we're looking to close this hospital. And you see a trend. Where are those hospitals always in discussion to close? I'll tell you where that is. It's in Patterson, it's in Jersey City, it's in Newark. It's the same again and again. And it doesn't take a genius to connect the dots. At the core of the problem is Horizon and the monopoly around the hospital systems that exist in New Jersey. That, in conjunction with the racism conversation, is how you confront this problem at the core.
Mr. Zelensky.
The major problem that we have is insurance companies are looking at profits instead of their patients. And that is a major issue. Now, again, one of the things that I want to bring about in the state of New Jersey is a Medicare for all, that we bring down the price, everybody gets taken care of, and private insurance companies will not be taking care of your issues because it's covered underneath Medicare. That's the main problem that we have in the state of New Jersey, as well as the entire country. As many of the candidates up here just said, we're so far behind in our healthcare system compared to any other global country that's out there. And that, we should be ashamed. But the problem is, again, it's not you and I. It's the major corporations that are taking money out of our pockets, and they don't care anymore. So my main thing is to really bring Medicare for all into the state of New Jersey.
Thank you very much. Our next question. What is your plan of action to counteract the president's plan towards veteran services and Social Security? Mr. Fuller, we'll start with you.
I touched on some of this earlier. I think there's two things that we need to be thinking about regarding those specific issues. The first is you need a strong attorney general, and that's why I continue to say that we have a strong attorney general there that has led the fight pushing back from a litigation standpoint against the Trump administration. And for the degree of continuity that's important, he deserves the opportunity to stay. It's in your best interest to have that continuity. That's number one. Number two is, I'm going to go back to the surplus. The fact that we have built a surplus in New Jersey, we need to leverage that to offset those cuts. We can't just complain and talk about it. There is an opportunity there to leverage those dollars in order to get us through this time period. So two things specific that I would do as governor, regarding the surplus and litigation, and I think those are important during those 3 years.
Mrs. Sherrill.
So, you know, if I could set it up, I think if we ever went to war, you would not just calculate the cost of guns and bullets, you would calculate the cost of the trauma that people go through and care for them for the rest of their life. And we are not doing that in this country, and too many people are suffering because of it. So I fought incredibly hard to get a veteran center here, as we saw a rash of mental health issues among our veterans population, as we saw the suicide level higher than the national suicide level for everyone else, as we have seen the trauma that 20 years of war in Iraq and Afghanistan have done to people. And now to see this administration attacking veterans, as we know they do. We know this is a president who has said that people who serve are suckers and losers. We know this is a president who said about somebody I really respect for his service, not for his policies, John McCain, who actually stayed in a prisoner of war camp and had untreated ejection injuries because he knew that it was last in, last out. So he was the last in, first out. So he did not go out first. I'm telling you, here's somebody who called that guy. He said, I like people who don't get caught. That is the president we're dealing with. That is somebody I will stand against. We will use our attorney general to stand against him. But I also think we need to get out trusted advisors, military people who people trust, people who've served this nation, to say that this is wrong. I don't care if you are a general who was a Republican. I don't care if you are a general who was a Democrat. If you are a general who has served this nation, you are somebody who owes it to our veterans to stand up against this administration.
Mr. Baraka.
Almost forgot what the question was, brother.
It is dealing with veterans
No,
and Social Security,
Well,
sir.
I think at the base of it, it was how we're going to respond to Donald Trump's
president, yes.
and his attacking our constitutional rights and pulling the floor from under working families. I think, one, I agree we need an attorney general that fights for our rights nationally. I think we need a federal delegation that's in DC that chooses to fight Donald Trump where he is, in the most primary and important place to be fighting him. Three, while I agree that we need to use some surplus, I don't think we have enough, right? That we have to begin to go get our money from these folks who have not been paying to put money in our budget so we can use some of that money. But we also have to begin to hold money back and begin to use it where we are in the state of New Jersey before we give it to the federal government. We're just gonna have to do that. And two, we're gonna have to double down on how we invest in what we think is important, right? We have to begin to invest in families, invest in businesses that are small, invest in mid-sized business, invest in working people, allow opportunity for people to develop workforce, to give them access to jobs. We have to do that because I think the more money we put in people's pockets, the more money goes into our economy. If we continue to give money to billionaires, they're going to put it in IRAs and tax shelters. We give money to working people, they put it in the economy because we have bills to pay. Not that we don't know financial literacy, but we have bills to pay. And once we put it in the economy gives us the revenue that we need to use it in our budget to begin to pay for the things that we ultimately are talking about up here. We have to get our economy going. We have to get it moving faster than it's moving now. And I say we invest in the things that give a larger return on investment, and that's working families.
Mr. Zelensky, on veteran services and Social Security attacks by the president.
So the main problem here is we have a president who thinks that he could just disassemble the Constitution of the United States. And that is ridiculous. We need to actually stand up against what is going on in Congress, but we also need to actually put ourselves first and foremost in the state of New Jersey. We need to hold back federal funds. We need to go toe-to-toe with this. This is ridiculous that someone thinks that they could just do anything that they want against the Constitution. I believe that we need to really think outside the box and be a way that, starting with a public bank again. This is a way that we could actually generate income for the state of New Jersey and use those funds for the Veterans Affairs, and God forbid if they cripple Social Security with this. And again, the state of North Dakota has been doing this since 1919, and they are liquid, and every single year they're making anywhere from 15 to 20% on their revenues for the state, which goes back into infrastructure and things of that nature.
Mr. Gottheimer.
Thank you. It's just 6 months ago, which is hard to believe, that people voted for Donald Trump in this country. And our state, right, he only lost by 6 points. And he made a commitment to people that he was going to make their lives better. And all he's done, if you follow this, is just systematically go after people, right? Now he's going after seniors and going after Social Security and going after Medicare and Medicaid and shutting Social Security offices down. People earn these benefits, right? And of course, what we're doing, I'm answering phones in our office all the time and saying, okay, we're going to step in and fight for you if you're not getting your Social Security because you're on a fixed income, you can't feed your family, you can't buy medicine. It's crazy, and we got to make sure everybody knows that we are going to stand up and protect them and fight. And if seniors need help, we're going to be there for them, and that's what I'm going to do as governor. Just like we're going to help our veterans, we have to. Imagine breaking the compact with the people who protect our flag and our country and our freedoms, and then they come home and you turn your back on them and cut Veterans Affairs and go after the VA and actually hurt people who stood up and literally protected us around the world. Like, to me, that's about as un-American as it gets. And so it's going to be up to us as governor. And when I'm governor, I'm telling you, we will step in because we will do right by people. That's what we do. And as Democrats, we're going to remind people that. And that's why we're going to win in November.
Mr. Spiller.
Full up there. Well, listen, I think we all understand the problem, right? We're all talking about the problem. And I get it. Like, I'm ready to stand up to a bully as well, right? Stood up to the first bully we had, which was Chris Christie, right? But I also know this. You still got to get things done. So the question was, how are we going to help our veterans, right? That was the question. And we all know this is wrong. This is why it's wrong. This is yes. But what are we going to do about it? And I got to tell you, I sat on the public bank task force that Governor Murphy put together, real potential, excited for what it can do, but it's not going to come up with the kind of money we need to support all these programs. I'm excited that there's a surplus now, but when we're talking about raiding the surplus for education, now we're going to raid the surplus for veteran services, now we're going to raid there's not enough money there. Folks, we have to be aggressive. We have to be aggressive and change our tax policy in New Jersey. Follow the money. Follow all the dollars that they're going to give. They're not, again, surprising us. Read Project 2025. They're gobbling up all these dollars to give massive breaks to the billionaires. We need to change our tax policy to go after those dollars so we can invest in these programs that are being underfunded. That's the only way we're going to address all of these constant losses and cuts that we're seeing. And that's what I'll do as governor. We fight in the courts for sure. We organize, mobilize. That's a key piece. And I'm going to ask and need your help, because I can tell you, when we aggressively say we need those changes in our tax code and systems and we got to go after the folks who are making the most money, it's going to take all of us speaking up as well to say, we agree. We're tired of always being the ones to shoulder the burden. And now let's go to the folks who are getting a windfall right now at the federal level, not making them any worse off, but taking the very dollars that they're stealing from our pockets. That's how we pay for these services for veterans.
Thank you very much, everybody. Now let's welcome back to the podium Christina Middlebrooks. She has a question.
Thank you. So this is a question from one of our youth, Akira Ali from Atlantic City Youth Council. On April 15th will be the first time 16-year-olds will be able to vote in New Jersey. However, that is only in Newark. As governor, would you support lowering the voting age to 16 statewide for local school board elections? Thank you.
I know you did that, Mr. Baraka, so I'm not going to start with you. We're going to start with Mrs. Sherrill. So, sorry. Mrs. Sherrill.
Yes, I'd be happy to support lowering the school board race age to voting for 16.
Mr. Gottheimer.
Yes, I would. Sorry, yes, I would.
Mr.
Support
Fulop.
that. Yes, I would.
Mr. Spiller.
Yes, I would, and because it's the right thing, but also we know that voting habits are formed early. So when you get folks who understand the power in voting early, they're going to vote for the rest of their lives. So absolutely, thank you for that.
Mr. Zelensky.
Yes, I agree with that as well. And to follow up, we need to actually teach in our schools civics and educate our students first and foremost, so they are incorporated into our election policies and things.
And finally, Mr. Baraka.
I like this guy down there, man. I would say yes, of course, but just a point tidbit. We have registered over 2,000 16 and 17-year-olds already in the city of Newark. So I think that's a huge number, and we want to see what the turnout looks like in this race coming up. And I do believe that when they begin to vote, that they'll inspire other people to begin to vote as well.
All right, thank you very much. We're gonna speed it up a little bit here. It's about 15 minutes left, so we're gonna speed it up. This is our speed round. Your answers are 30 seconds. Do you hear me? 30 seconds, all right, here we go. What will you do to protect the rights of New Jersey's trans and non-binary youth, including trans and non-binary youth of color who face disproportionate harm as a result of emerging federal policies? Let's start with you, Mr. Spiller.
Well, I'm really, really proud of the work done, because right now they've been coming after our students right in our schools, and we've been standing up, even when it wasn't the most popular thing, even when we had a lot of Democratic legislators who were running away from it. We stood up and said, that's unacceptable. Our primary charge is to make sure every student is safe, right? That is number one. And we backed it up. We backed it up by going out there and asking parents who said, hey, if it's your student safety's on the line, do you support making sure that they're not outed and making sure that they're in a safe environment? The answer was overwhelmingly yes. And we provided that data to those in the public. Those legislators finally came around. So I've been doing it, and we continue to do it.
Mr. Zelensky, 30 seconds.
So one of the things I said before is we all bleed red. So it doesn't matter what gender you are, what color you are. We should all respect one another. And that needs to come from all of our leaders, our education system, teaching our children. That is where we need to stop this racial disparity.
Mr. Fulop. 30 seconds.
I'm going to go back to the fact that we vocalized to Washington a lot about what we want them to do, and in a gerrymandered and Republican president and Congress, it's tough to move. But the reality is that we have a Democratic governor, a Democratic state senate, a Democratic assembly, and there's plenty of bills regarding gender identity here in Trenton that we do not hold our legislature accountable for. And we need to push them to put a vote up. I have an extensive track record as an advocate for the trans community and the LGBTQ community that is like nobody else running for governor, and I'm excited about the opportunity.
Mr. Baraka.
There are two bills that I think we need to be supporting. One, where we're not forcing schools to out kids right now. They're doing that. 40% of the folks that are young people that are homeless are LGBTQ youth because their parents put them out. We have to support the bill that does not force schools to out kids. Two, we have to support gender affirming care. There's a bill that's available right now. We have to support that statewide to make sure that we're giving kids the opportunity to have access to health care in the way that they need it in this state. So those are two things that we can do right now.
Congresswoman Cheryl.
I'm a supporter of the State Repro Act. What I think we need to focus on is privacy rights, insurance rights, and rights to get care for children between the medical provider and families, and not having the legislature ban that. So, and a lot of that's included in the State Repro Act.
And finally, Congressman Gottheimer.
Thank you. I beat in 2016, I beat a extreme right-winger who said that gay people shouldn't be able to run for Congress. I can't believe all these years later, we're still having this fight to have to protect our kids. And 25% of trans kids attempt suicide. As a dad of a 15-year-old and a 13-year-old, that breaks my heart. And we should do everything we can to make sure all of our kids treat all the other kids and all of our families treat all the other families the way they should be, and respect and make sure we actually take the time to teach our children so that we don't deal with these people who are continuing to do what they've done for years.
What specific plan do you have ready to go if Medicaid is cut, specifically to ensure our seniors and people with disabilities continue to be sustained? Let's start out with Mr. Spiller. One more time.
Listen, I mean, we keep talking about this as if we're going to be able to solve all of these problems that they're throwing at us by nibbling around in our budget. I was up at, I think it's called Cedar Crest, where I was, in Pequannock, I believe, assisted living, senior care. And as I walked in, two gentlemen were literally crying as they met me, and they said, Sean, literally Medicaid pays the gap between what I can afford and the care that I need here. We have got to invest in our people, and that means we've got to have the dollars to do it. Here's yet the next billions and billions of dollars that we got to find. There's only one place we're going to find it, folks. We got to change our tax policy.
Mr. Gottheimer.
We know our seniors, our baby boomers are all aging, and they're going into more senior care facilities, and we're going to have to be there for them. Not just fighting Trump on what he's going to try to mess with Medicaid and what he's doing, which we're obviously have to do, everyone, but also make sure we're prepared so that none of our seniors are left alone and don't have a place to go. And to me, this is a whole senior strategy, not just dealing with the Medicaid issue, but what are we going to do to care for our seniors and look out for them and make sure that we're ready for that.
Congresswoman Cheryl.
I think what we're going to have to do is come up with a state plan to ensure that we are supporting our nursing homes across the state. We have several county-based nursing homes that are being sold off right now. I think the governor has to take a look at that and maybe halt that as we go into looking at the possible cuts coming from that. As many of you realize, in order to go into nursing home care, many of the families have their parents sell off all of their assets, give over all of their assets to the nursing home, and then Medicaid provides for it. So now we have seniors who, if they are kicked out of that care, have nothing. We also are going to have to support families with ATU, external dwellings, if they need to care for seniors, and helping support them as they do so.
Mr. Baraka.
So what we really need is a public option. We need a single payer system. He's calling it Medicare for all. It's the same thing. How do you pay for that? You give the Office of Healthcare Accountability and Transparency the ability to enact reference-based pricing to reduce the cost of healthcare in the state of New Jersey. If we were paying just 150% above Medicare, we could save the state over $1 billion in 2 years. You use that savings to begin to invest in Medicaid and spread it out. At the end of the day, we need a system where there's no copay, there's no deductible, and we pay for it in the state of New Jersey. Then we don't need the federal government at all.
Mr. Phillip.
In 30 seconds, I think the biggest opportunities around revenue raisers for the highest income families in New Jersey and rethinking how we raise money and how the budget works. Taxing corporations properly, taxing the wealthiest in New Jersey. The same people that are getting the tax cuts from the Trump administration need to be chipping in more to offset some of the losses for the most vulnerable people that we have. And I think that's the best opportunity, and it's something that you should be thinking about in the first 60 days of taking office.
Mr. Zelensky.
So you and I talk a lot about this Medicaid, Medicare for all. I call it that. Single payer health care is the same thing. It is a way that we could actually reduce our costs and not be held over by high pricing from insurance companies who deny us claims. That is the way that we actually have to work this. And it'll take time. Maybe a year or so, but if we actually do this properly, it will cut down everybody's costs, which will bring down our taxes as well.
Time. All right, next question, 30-second answers. Do you plan to make full payments to the state pension plan? Mr. Fuller.
We're all going to say yes, obviously, but I'll go a step further. There's one municipality in New Jersey that participates in the state pension as well as the municipal pension that has our own pension system. So a track record is the best indicator of how somebody will actually act in the future. We've paid the Jersey City pension obligation every single year as well as the state obligation, and I would continue that practice as the governor.
Mr. Zelensky.
Question again?
Question is about the state pension.
Oh,
Would you
yes,
fully fund
definitely.
it?
That's a no-brainer. Sorry about that.
Very good. Let's go to Mr. Spiller.
Well, the answer is yes, and he's right. Everybody is going to say yes, but for 25 years, governors haven't done it. They've said yes, and then they stole out of it. And the problem I have is this, folks. We've got to be wary, right? I understand a lot of well-intended folks here, right? But if you've got a tax cut plan and you can't meet it, you know where they've always gone? Stolen it out of the pensions. If you've got a surplus that doesn't have enough money to fund all the things you keep talking about, you know where they've done? They've gone after the pensions, right? So there is a real risk here. I'm a yes, because I know it's costing us so much more now because of our irresponsibility for 25 years. Absolutely yes.
Mr. Gottheimer.
If you don't make your pension payments, not only is it the wrong thing to do, but it totally screws over our economy in Jersey because their borrowing costs for everything go way up. So you end up, as all these governors were pointing out, when they stole from the future, all they did was drive up all the costs for all of you and force all your taxes up and force everything else up. We got to make these payments. It's the only way we're going to make life more affordable in the end and do right by those who are in the pension system.
Mr. Baraka.
Yes, 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 yes. And the reason we weren't able to fund the pension is because we gave $15 billion away from 2010 onward. We give it away to the super wealthy in this state. We need to stop doing that, repeal those tax cuts so we can be able to pay the pension as we move forward. So yes is the answer to that, and we have a way to make sure that that happens.
Mrs. Cheryl.
Yes, because, I have 4 kids, and I think if we don't do that, we're mortgaging off their future, and I refuse to do that. I also am really proud that we were able to get rid of the windfall elimination provision, which actually cut into the Social Security of our firefighters and our public safety officers who had paid into a pension system and weren't getting a return on that, and also had paid into it with their civilian jobs. So I have a history of protecting pensions and intend to continue doing so.
And of course, this is a very important issue for the NAACP, so I want to hit this question. Once again, 30-second answers. Do you support same-day voter registration here in New Jersey? Mr. Sherrill, let's go with you to start that off.
I am an incredible fan of increasing voting rights. I think that among many things that we have seen, not just in this administration, but over the years from Republicans, is a slippage of many of our rights. And key to that is our voting rights provisions. I fought for them when I was a lawyer to make sure everyone had the right to vote. I've continued to fight for that in Congress, and I will fight for it as governor, especially yes to same-day voting rights, voting registration.
Mr. Baraka.
The answer is yes. Again, I agree with that. It goes along with 16 to 17-year-olds voting. We need to make it easier to vote, and we need to stop dropping people from the voter rolls. Democrats are doing that. We've done 200,000 people we've dropped from the voter rolls because they don't vote as consistently as we want them to. If we gave them the reason to vote, then they would vote consistently. But because we don't give them the reason to vote, and now we're pulling them from the voting rolls, we're acting like we're in Mississippi and New Jersey.
Mr. Gottheimer.
Everything we absolutely can do to get more people voting, whether it's early voting, voting by mail, which we're doing more of, which is great, and we should do mobile voting, anything. We should pick longer day voting so people aren't just they get there earlier and later, whatever we need to get people to vote. When I worked at the U.S. Commission on Civil Rights, it was amazing how many people were thrown off the rolls, and the fact that that's still occurring is outrageous, and we got to make sure we tackle that too, because we got to get everyone participating.
Mr. Zielinski.
So we should not be putting obstacles in place to get people out to vote. We should be encouraging more people, as we talked about, getting the younger generation to get out and vote. I took a look at the rolls back in 2021. Only, I want to say 5% of the registered voters from 18 to 29 actually showed up. We need to get them more supporting.
All right, Mr. Phillip.
I think we're all going to agree on voter access. It's a good thing. I'm going to take it one step further. I've been an outspoken advocate for ranked choice voting. I think that is the natural next step in advocacy and improving democracy throughout the state of New Jersey. We have been at the forefront of that in Jersey City. As governor, I would continue to do that because I think ranked choice voting is the natural progression to get a better representation here in New Jersey.
Mr. Spiller.
Yes, to same-day registration. I mean, same thing. We want more access. We want more people to be able to do it. There's constantly more and more barriers being thrown up by, we know, the folks who want less people to turn out, less people to be able to express their voice. Of course, support it fully.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is very close to 9 o'clock. So what we're going to do, you said yeah. So we're going to get right into our closings. All right, we're going to, can we work backwards? I brought everybody in forward, but I'm going to go backwards on this list as far as the candidate's closing statement. You have 2 minutes. 2 minutes. Absolutely. You got to stick to the 2 minutes. Mr. Zelensky, you are first.
This is the first time that a Z-Man gets to go first. So, first of all, I want to say thank you to all of you here, showing up, showing support, showing a care for your next governor in the state of New Jersey. Again, some of the things that are in my background is I've always been involved in the food industry. I've always been involved in the renewable energy, and I believe in our healthcare system really needs to change for the state of New Jersey as well as the entire country. I believe that I have a way to increase revenue into the state by manufacturing, again, renewable energy panels, as well as increasing our agriculture in the state. One of the things that I didn't get to talk about is we all did talk about storage for energy. The problem is that lithium-ion batteries are very expensive, and they tend to blow up sometimes. One of the things that I've looked into, and it's about to happen probably within the next 4 years, they're currently making them right now, is batteries that are made out of graphene. But the problem is graphene is very expensive. We could actually carbonize hemp, which will actually be made into batteries, and it's regenerative and very cheaply to be made. And I want to bring that manufacturing sector into the state of New Jersey, which will increase jobs as well as make storage for our energy more affordable.
Thank you very much. 2 minutes, Mr. Spiller, 2 minutes.
Thank you very much. Thank you again for being here tonight. Listen, I'm running for governor to change things. Because I think as we all think about it right now, we wonder, we've seen governors, right? Both sides of the aisle. And I ask you this, do you think they've been fighting for you in every single decision that they've made? Well, I'm running for governor to change that. To make sure that whether we're talking about an African-American male, right? Whether we're talking about folks who know that we've never been centered in the conversations like the middle class and working poor. I'm fighting to make sure that our voices are heard in all the decisions that are made. And I say it in this way. Number one, I say it as an immigrant who came to this country as a young boy. So when I talk about standing up for every single resident in this state, which is what I'll do as governor, I say it because it's personal to me. When I talk about the fact that we've got to have quality early education and childcare with my 7-year-old and 4-year-old, I understand the dynamic that exists, the struggles that so many are facing, and the difficulty that presents itself if you can't get that quality early education and childcare. When I talk about fighting for middle-class folks who, struggle with paying those bills or getting the health insurance that they need, it's as a labor leader, a union member, an activist who's fought in and with our community members to say, these are the supports that we need to be able to have a fair shake at this American dream. When I talk about the fact that we've got to make sure we've got quality, affordable health care, right? And the challenges that we see with increases year after year, it's through personal experience, having people crying on my shoulder saying, Sean, we just have to make that tough decision of whether we're getting the care we need or putting food on our table. These things are personal for me because it's my lived experience. And I'm saying it's about time that we elect somebody who has a lived experience that's more closely aligned with our own than electing folks that we hope, again, remember us that little bit when they're making some of these decisions. Well, this is our chance to do just that. This is our chance to take a system that has already had a door kicked open by Andy Kim and others to make sure we change fundamentally the way we do business here in New Jersey, and we elect somebody who's fighting for us with every single decision that I make. Thank you very much, everybody. Appreciate it.
Mrs. Cheryl.
Well, thank you. It's really been lovely to be here tonight. I feel like I'm in Hogwarts. I don't know if anybody else has that feeling here in this auditorium, but it's truly been wonderful. And I just want to thank every single person who's here right now. It's really humbling to see all of you. We have to be here because we want to serve you, but you guys didn't, and it's Friday night, and it's getting quite late, and I'm looking at the gentleman with his daughter in his arms, and my back is hurting as I'm watching you hold her. So thank you. Thank you. It just shows your deep commitment. I want to say thank you to the Atlantic City students who are here tonight. It's great to see you out. Thank you to the NAACP for bringing out young people, because we're here for all of you, and we need to hear from all of you about what it is that you are going to need to truly thrive. And thank you to the wonderful questions. Thank you so much for your moderating them. It is horrible to see what is becoming of this country so quickly. It is horrible to see person after person, law firm after law firm, school after school bend the knee in service of themselves or their self-interest, and not in service of the American people and the values that I thought we all agreed upon. And so to see all of you out here tonight reminds me why I'm fighting, reminds me what it's all about, reminds me about the future that I know we all believe in. And so you've heard people up here tonight because we care. And what we are fighting against right now is a group of people that just don't. We're fighting against people who have spent more time getting their little butt up to Bedminster so they could kiss the ring of this president than talking about Medicaid and talking about Medicare and talking about Social Security and talking about the Department of Education, who care more for their self-interest than they do about the people that they are supposed to serve. So that's not why we're here tonight. That's not why I'm here tonight. And I know that's not why you guys are here tonight. So I just want to express my deep, sincere appreciation to each and every one of you. Thank you so much.
Mr. Gottheimer.
Thank you to the NAACP. Thank you for moderating. And as pointed out, thank you to all of you. I know this is a moment which is not easy. We all wake up every day, read the news with a pit in our stomach. I can't believe some of the things that I see, and I thought I've seen a lot already. And I can't believe with our history, with what we've seen, and that you have somebody who wakes up every day literally trying to tear the country apart and pit us against each other in the greatest country the world's ever known. Right? We know, and the best way we are going to win, because we cannot afford to lose. We know the best way to win is to make sure that as Democrats, we stand up and remind people what we're about, the values that we stand up and have championed and fought for, people we protect and that we care deeply about, and what helped build this great country. So whether you're a senior, a veteran, a kid who's hungry, like, our job is to make sure we get your back. And we got to remind everybody that's why this guy's got to go, why we're going to fight him, why I'm going to stand up as your governor and fight him every single day, and make sure we protect and look out for our families. And at the core of that, we got to make sure that you can stay here. I'm sick of talking to people who say, I love Jersey, but I can't afford to be here anymore and I have to leave. It's too expensive, or my kids can't afford to be here. I can't afford to retire here. Our job is to make your lives more affordable, right? And so I'm so grateful you're here, because we got to get it out that Democrats, that I care about making sure your taxes go down, your costs go down, your rents go down, that you can pay for childcare, that you can make sure you can pay those utility bills. And our job is to make policies to ensure that you can. And that's what I'll do as your governor. Fight for you, solve problems for you, get your back, and wake up every single day, not only fighting Trump, but making sure we fight for our values and who we are in Jersey, because it's an incredible state. And I want to make sure we keep building it and building a strong future for you. Thank you.
Mr. Fuller.
I'll stand for this. I don't want to my back to you, Raz. You know, I said earlier when it started that I have a 6-year-old, a 4-year-old, a 1-year-old at home, and I'm very thankful to have a 3-hour debate. I'll stay here 5 hours if necessary. But the reality is that, you know, this morning and throughout the day, you go through this whole campaign, and I really wasn't feeling great. I got my whole laboratory up here. And Josh says thank you for sitting next to me. I told him earlier. And I didn't want to miss this because I thought it would be disrespectful. And even though I felt like beyond the mic problems, I had some thought problems going on, I thought it was be here to try and muscle through best I can to say thank you for coming out today. The country is at a crossroads, but the state is at a crossroads too. And our campaign is different. It is very substantive on detail. Maybe that didn't come through today as best as I could. It is about political change that's different than others, structural change, primaries, accountability, things that matter to change New Jersey, not just in the next year, but in the next 4 years and 8 years and 12 years. It's an untested lane, I'll be the first to tell you, but I believe that it will work. And that's really what our campaign is about. I go to these things and I say, you know what, at the end of the day, I'm not asking for your vote here today. I'm telling you to please do some more research. Please go to our websites. Please listen to more of these types of forums. And I feel comfortable in that because even if today I'm feeling under the weather, I know that if you hear this enough and you see enough of all of us, I feel comfortable that you'll understand why our campaign is different. So I want to say thank you for coming out today. I really appreciate you. I would never not show up when I commit to something, and I look forward to seeing you guys more at future events.
Mr. Baraka.
Thank you. I want to thank, I am asking for your vote, by the way. I want to thank all of you for coming out. I want to thank my wife. I know she ran out. I know she probably think I'm upset because my daughter keeps running on the stage, but I'm not. I'm glad they get an opportunity to see what we're engaging here today. 60 years ago, Fannie Lou Hamer left Jackson, Mississippi, and came to New Jersey. She came to Atlantic City to fight to desegregate the Democratic Party in this state. She did that trying to fight for equity, right? We talk a lot about what's happening in the federal government, and we are bypassing what's happening in the state of New Jersey, right? The problem with Democrats are not Republicans, it's Democrats, right? 500,000 less Democrats voted in the last election, over 1 million less voted for Murphy, because we're a blue state and a party that's supposed to represent working families, but working families are the ones that are struggling the most. Working families are paying more for gas. They're paying more for New Jersey Transit while we give billionaires tax breaks. Working families cannot find babysitters or childcare, so they're leaving their children at home and getting neighbors to watch them while they go to work. Working families are behind on their mortgage because they have to pay their kids' tuition. Working families send their kids to college, and their kids come back from college and can't afford to own a home or live in the neighborhoods they were born and raised in. It is working families' taxes who are going up. It is working families who can't pay their rent because they're buying Christmas gifts. It is working families who are paying $15,000 deductibles and co-pays at the same time. It is working families whose seniors have to make a decision between medicine or rent, but we're giving tax breaks to seniors that make $500,000 or more. This is a problem. Our priorities are messed up because the people who are running government don't see the majority of the people in the state. They just see their circles of people, the people with influence and power. They see them and they serve them. We need a governor that sees all of us. And certainly, I see the entire state of New Jersey. God bless y'all.
Thank you to each and every one of you for being here. Let's give them a round of applause, everybody. Hold up for a minute, guys. Folks, hold up. Thank you very much. Thank you. Hold on. Don't go anywhere. We're not done yet. Hold on, guys. Don't go. All right, hold on. One moment, we're gonna have our closing, but thank you, everybody who attended. I know it was a long night, but thank you for everybody being here. Thank you to the young people that put this together for the NAACP. Thank you to the NAACP for putting this event together tonight. I appreciate this. Thank you for allowing me to do this, and now it's back to you. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll make this really brief.
Hold on, everybody.
Hold on. I'm sorry. So just 5 minutes. Yes, I promise. Just 3 minutes. I'll make it real quick. So greetings, everyone. I want to say thank you to all of our candidates for attending our first Princeton NAACP candidate forum. Can you believe it was our first event? It turned out great because of the candidates, attendees, and most importantly, the members of the Princeton University chapter of NAACP. Can all my members rise, and can we give them a round of applause? These students struggle in their academics and their involvement. Young people here in Princeton join youth from all over the state of New Jersey, from the top of the state at New Jersey City University or at the bottom of the state with Atlantic City Youth Council. We all play a vital role in fostering civic engagement by providing opportunities for students to learn about civic issues, participate in community service, and engage in political discussions. Candidates, you provided much needed information to allow those in the audience in person and virtually to make an educated vote. The Princeton NAACP wants to remind you that the gubernatorial primary election will occur on June 10th, 2025, so put it in your calendars. It is important that we all vote and vote early. Last year, approximately 14% of all registered voters in New Jersey voted in the Senate and president primary elections. Primaries are just as important as general election. This must change. To confirm your voter registration status and learn more about membership in the NAACP, please come talk to any of our members. The next event we encourage you to attend is the United Black Agenda event right here at Princeton University on April 3rd. There will be a discussion and a listening session on the last speech of Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. And this discussion will be led by prominent leaders in the state of New Jersey. And in the words of presidential candidate Shirley Chisholm, the one thing you got going for you is your vote. So let's use it. Thank you again for everyone.
Everyone, wait 1 minute. Do you see this young lady, Christina Middlebrooks? She started in the NAACP when she was 15 years old, went from committee chair, vice president, state secretary, and now president, and reactivated this chapter on campus. I need everyone to give Christina Middlebrooks a round of applause. She did a fantastic job. NAACP is about intergenerational learning and understanding. And this right here, the candidate standing next to a young future medical policymaker, is what NAACP stands for. Thank you, everyone, and good night. Okay.
Good to see you.
I'm going to the casino.
I wasn't close to you. It wasn't feeling good. So
I need to.
they want to take one picture. Yes.
I'm going to the casino. Thank you very much. Is that everyone?
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Much appreciated. They want to take a picture? Everybody have a bag? Mrs. Shaw, can we take a picture? Yes. Yes, I took a bag. Can we take a picture? Yes. Okay. Thank you, everybody.
Have a good night, everyone.
Yes, good night.
Thank you so much.
Drop the mic.
Well done. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Thanks so much. Good job.
We need all NAACP members to the front for a picture, please. All NAACP members. No, ma'am. As soon as they walk off. Would you prefer that, photographer Combs? Okay. We would like all NAACP members on the stage for a quick picture. Adults and youth, please. If we could hurry up, we do have people that need to go home. Atlantic City Youth Council has the longest drive. The bus will be here so we can make a way for the youth all NAACP members on the stage. Are you an NAACP member? What is happening right now?
I don't know.
Are you 12? Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're good. I think the stream's still going.
Oh, Lord,
I'm just gonna
now
end
they
it.
heard me talk about everybody.
I'm just gonna end
All right,
the stream.
can we move these bottles? Out of the picture.
Sit up there. Wow.
Don't worry. Tisha.
No problem. Are we ready to turn this off?
What? We need to move these bottles.
Hey, Jeff, just call me.
Hey, man.
Well, we want to keep the poster up.
Oh,
and
yeah.
the live stream.
Okay. So I'll close it and then pull it back up.
This is mine. Yep.
I will say, as a New Yorker, I did not appreciate the
President Morgan.
We are a state of hate. All right. That's why.